Good Monday morning. You're listening to Gary Matt here on 1620 The Zone, where we are raring and revving to go as we are in the near championship series of the CWS after a great
near.
Well, we are. I mean, we're not like
brother. We got a week. We got a week of baseball.
I know, but we're getting there. We're deciding the teams who are going to be there. We're whittling down. So we already have a team that was eliminated. Arizona, 2 in the queue. Thank you for coming. Louisville baseball. We're just going to hit the ball on the ground and run everywhere and make you throw the ball into the stands like you don't know how to play the game that you love. And today we have a couple of bangers. Got UCLA in action, got LSU in action. Arkansas's playing. Don't forget about the Cinderella story in Murray State, but it was a hell of a weekend of the CWS, and I am joined by the man who has been on the call for these games, Mr. Gary Sharp. How are you, my man?
Good. I'm glad to see you survive, because it's not just the baseball. There was a lot of stuff going on with the first weekend of the College World Series. There were a lot of things that could have pulled you down, that invited you in. There was a lot of so here's my takeaway on the first 3 days of the College World Series.
Sure.
The games have been, for the most part, meh. Okay. The atmosphere inside of the stadium, meh. Like Kate Anderson, I blame you for muting the atmosphere on Saturday night. It could have been a banger where you thought somebody was going to be in trouble. That was sitting in the stands, like both fan bases would be going at each other.
Sure.
And he was so friggin' good for LSU. And they got up early on Arkansas. And that crowd was like, okay, It's nice to be at the College World Series. I think this year, these are just the first 3 days observation, is that there are more people that are here in Omaha from out of the area that have come in to enjoy the College World Series, that have stayed outside of the stadium and have enjoyed Baseball Village and the other surrounding stuff. Because outside the stadium is packed. But inside, we haven't had a good start. This has been Coastal Carolina's a banger. But I think the games and the atmosphere in the stadium have just been kind of But outside, hello. Whether it be one popular joint has to shut down. I feel bad for the OPD. Man, they have been on full tilt for the last couple of days. There was a lot of crap that went on Saturday night, but outside has been better to me than inside in the first 3 days.
It's been banging. It's been like a ton of fun. And it's funny, like you can tell when we're getting really close to the game that, all right, people are now like starting to go into the stadium and they're starting to get their seats and whatnot. But like that time between, I would say, like 40 minutes before the game to like an hour and 15 minutes before the game, there are like mass amount of people just walking by our booth, walking down the Omaha Baseball Village, grabbing beers, grabbing drinks. Like the pings, that the amount of times that I've heard the ping of a bat, like I'm kind of getting sick and tired of hearing a baseball bat hit a baseball off of a tee because there are so many.
Because of where you guys are located.
Oh my God, there are so many kids who are using these bats who are just ping, 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 taking swings. Like you would, there are points where I'm like, I think I'm in a batting cage. Like I am just in a like I am in a batting cage from hell forever. But it's been awesome, even like after, because I did enjoy the sights and sounds of the College World Series after 8 p.m. during the weekend. Had a little.
You don't have to apologize. I would expect. I would be disappointed if it was not. If you were not out there taking in the sights and sounds, so you could report back on, your victories.
Well, I've had a victory. I've been diversifying my portfolio though, in terms of where I have been going throughout the College World Series.
So we heard.
I can give us the full update. Definitely did. Now I'll tell you this right now.
You tried to use the "Do you know who I am" card. I heard.
All right. Let's address this. We'll just address it because I did not pull the "Do you know who I am" card. Okay, it was like sucked out of me. It was like pulled out of me. Okay, because what happened was that for those who have been partaking in the festivities of the College World Series, you know that the tent in the Omaha Baseball Village is probably the most poppin' part. Okay.
Yeah.
After like 7 o'clock. And there was a very long
7
line.
o'clock? Wow, that's starting earlier and earlier.
Well, okay, we'll get to that too, because there was a whole situation in that regard as well. But on
Friday and Saturday night, the two most popular places around the stadium had problems.
I have some insight.
Then we had somebody shot just a couple blocks away from the ballpark. Saturday was a gong show. Post game.
It was quite. I did have a couple experiences in that regard too. But on Friday, it was a long line. Okay, so I walked up to like the main tent, right, where you can kind of cut through the line where the VIPs are.
Now tell this story well, because I heard this story from the person that you were involved with.
And I walk up and I go, hey, like I already have a wristband. I was here earlier. I was wondering if like that's okay. I can just kind of just walk in. And they were like, no, like you gotta pay a cover, my man. I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. And then I said this. I go, oh, I was just media, and I had gotten the wristband earlier, so I didn't know if I could kind of just go through the line. And they're like, oh, you're media? I go, yeah. I work media. I work here in the Village. Oh, you need to talk to this person. And she, the person that was like, come here. And like kind of did the finger wave, like come over here. Like, oh, okay. So I walk up. She's like, I know you. And I'm like, yeah, I met you. I had met this person previously. I was like, I had met you here at the mattress factory. She's like, yeah, I don't know you. I was like, I'm Matt. I'm Matt. We met here at the restaurant. I was with Chris. Like he introduced me. He goes, what's I don't Chris who? I go, and I said her name. I said, you're this person. And she was like, all right, you passed the test. And I'm like, oh. So she like gave me the card and gave me a wristband, and I just walked on in. So I didn't pull the, I'm Matt McMaster, you know who I am. Like I was just like, hey, I was here before. I'm media. So I got in that way. And then on Saturday, we showed up to the tent at like 8 o'clock thinking, oh, there wouldn't be a cover, because I thought the cover started at 9 o'clock. Yeah. So we get to the front of the line after waiting in line for like 15, 20 minutes. And they go, it's a $40 cash cover. I'm like, ooh. Okay.
That's insane.
And I'm like, we got to pay to play here. Like, this is like, we showed up, we waited in line. Everywhere we go, there's going to be a cover, right? So we're just going to have to pay it. No big deal. And we get up to the front of the line, and the guy has this big wad of cash. Literally, like he had big hands, and it went from his pinky to his thumb. And he goes, "All right, boys, wait 1 second. I got to put this cash in this bag." And there was like an awkward pause. And I go, "Oh, okay. I thought you were going to let us in for free." And he looked me in the eye, and he goes, "You know what? I am."
Nice.
I go, "All right." And me and my buddy, we just walked right on through, didn't pay cover. And he goes, "Pays to be patient." I go, "Clearly it does. Thanks, man." And we went in. So 2 days in a row, I did not pay a cover. I have a talented tongue. I have a talented tongue, and I used it multiple times over the weekend.
Well, I'm glad you survived. I've seen you periodically over the weekend, so I'm glad you made it through.
You've been great on the call, by the way. Don't mean to kiss your butt.
Thank you.
But you and Bishop have been very, very good. And we'll talk about some of the things that you talked about on the broadcast when we kind of, we're not going to go into like the full breakdown of what happened over the weekend. But there are definitely, I know you call it like, the games have not been like instant classic, like thrilling, like, oh my God, these have been absolutely incredible. But
we got spoiled last year in the first 2 days.
Yes.
What
was there 4 walk-offs in 5 games?
There were 3 walk-offs in the first 4 games, and all 4 were 1-run games, and there were home runs, and it just outside of the Friday night late game between Louisville and Oregon State, it just hasn't been great baseball. So, but where it has been great baseball is, I think we probably need to have a conversation about Coastal Carolina can win the national championship again.
Yes.
They're 7-0 in the NCAA tournament. They're rolling. At this time of the year, when you've won 25 games in a row, I don't care if you're playing in bum FU conference. That's impressive, and they're really good. I mean, they are the Gonzaga of college baseball, and what they did to that lineup last night against Oregon State, what Morrison did, I think you need to have an open conversation that Coastal Carolina not only can win their bracket, but they might win the national championship.
Does Morrison have a nickname? Like the Big Rig or something like that, or like just something about being large?
That would be a good nickname. I don't think he has a nickname. He's not like the Smith Bailey from Arizona who is called Big Seeds.
Okay, I didn't know that one. That's
I think he's angling for an NIL deal down in Tucson.
I'm like, how is this guy 6'8" and an absolute beast yesterday? You gotta have, like, if you're that big, you have to have a nickname.
Maybe. I know. I heard you and Josh talking about nicknames yesterday.
Well, I mean, you and I have talked about it. I kind of stole that from you, if I'm being honest. In terms of,
so back to the fan thing.
Sure.
Because I don't know if people want to break down college baseball. College baseball is sometimes drunk, and there's the uniqueness of you never know what's going to happen because it's sometimes not played really well. Compared to like if you watch a lot of pro baseball. So that's sure. I think you get the emotion of college baseball.
The lack of a long ball definitely has.
Yeah. Can we also talk about and I think somebody would make the call to Baton Rouge that LSU, which I don't get the same buzz, that when they were here in 23 because they didn't have the star power. They don't have the star power this year, but they're a good team with 2 dudes, and Ianson's going to pitch tonight against UCLA. And Paul Skeens, by the way, will be here. Paul Skeens will be at the game tonight.
I did hear that.
So they have the Pirates have an off day. They were in Chicago yesterday, and so he'll be here. Livy Dunn stayed when she was here the other night. She stayed, so she'll be there tonight. So he'll be in attendance. But this is your first time experiencing, and again, like I said at the beginning, I think I've never seen as many people outside of the stadium, like in the baseball village and in Omaha, but the atmosphere inside of the stadium doesn't match it. Where are all the LSU people? They were outnumbered, I would say 60 to 30% on Saturday night. And usually LSU people, man, they're falling out of trees in Omaha. Where are you at? Where are you at? It just can't be Mardi Gras Mike being sent up here to drive around the streets of Omaha. Where are you at, LSU fans?
Well, so I think it was Rob Anderson.
You got a good team. You got a really good team. They might not have Skeens and Cruz. Yeah. They're a good team that just knocked off Arkansas.
So I think Rob Anderson was like, it was 78% Arkansas and 22% LSU. But even within, so I think we said it on the OBV like pregame show, like there were more Arkansas. I was seeing way more Arkansas shirts and way more like Omahas and everything like that than I was seeing LSU. And I think I kind of just assumed that, hey, all of these tailgate tents. Okay, so we have a friend, Kellyanne, where she's, like LSU tailgate, everything like that. There was like, I couldn't find her tailgate because there were 5 different like LSU tents and 5 different LSU flags flying all over Lot D. And I was like, and I went to all the ones before I went to hers. And so I was like, all right, these people like showed out and there would be a ton of people at the game. And then when all those pictures were sent, the Arkansas fans, it was crazy. It was 80%. It was like
it was like a Saturday in the fall in the South in the parking lot. That was great. But I'm thinking LSU fans, the diehards are here that come no matter if LSU is here or not, because I'm seeing the same people, and good on you. But I bet LSU fans are like, I don't know about this year's team. They're ranked number 1 in one poll. They're number 3 in another. They may not, again, be the sexy team that won the national title, but where are you at? Where are you at, LSU fans? You didn't think they'd make it, so you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to stay home. The Arkansas fans put you to shame, and then your pitcher put Arkansas to shame.
He's so good. But do you, okay, and I'm not making this claim. I'm just asking this question because I think you would probably know better than me, but do you think there might be like a little bit of like coming to Omaha fatigue for LSU fans because
they weren't here last year,
but they've done it.
You're like death taxes, and we go to Omaha.
But it's like exactly. So like they've done it so much, like what they've done 20 times in the last 40 years, and they've been incredibly successful here, and they won in 2023. Maybe they're kind of like, yeah, we don't know if this team is really going to be the team to win it. They weren't necessarily favored against the Razorbacks heading into the game. Like, oh, okay, we're not like as raring and revving to go all the way out there as they've been in the past. Like maybe I'm not saying that. I'm not questioning the validity of some fandom of LSU, but that could be the case where it's just like, man, we don't think this team is going to win. Maybe we don't make the trip out this year.
I mean, that's embarrassing if that's the case, but man, you got a good baseball team. And we're going to talk to Jay Johnson a little bit later. Again, they don't have the star power of 23 in the buzz because that had Skeens and Tommy Tanks and Dylan Cruz. And I get it. And they were good. And they were a rightful national champion. But I just I don't know, man. When we started that game on Saturday night, I'm like, I knew there'd be a lot of Arkansas fans here because they feel like this is their year and it's a shorter drive. But usually LSU fans do not let them be beat that bad in the stands. And maybe LSU fans are they're not going into the stadium. They're packing across the street at Rocco's, which they are. I mean, they're being LSU fans, which good on them because they know how to party. And thank you. We just need more of you here.
So back-to-back nights, I was locked out of Lefties and Rocco's at like 11:30.
Your picture was on the wall or what?
No, I have a good rapport.
Did you start the fight on Friday night that shut him down?
I did not. No, I didn't shove anybody in the back, unfortunately. Or actually, I was
idiots.
I punched the guy in the back of the head, and then I pointed at a bunch of LSU fans, and I go, "That's the guy who did it." And I ran away, and then that big fight happened. They closed down early on Saturday as well. So there was a fight on Friday, but then on Saturday they closed down at like 11:50. I got there at like 11:30, and they were closed
because it was packed, right?
No.
Oh, they had another incident?
No, I went to the OPD, and I was just like, hey, like, why are they there was a police presence. Okay. There was a police presence. And I went up, I go, hey, what's up, man? And I was just being friendly, making combo. And I was like, why, was there never a fight or something like that? Like, why they closed down again? And the guy goes, he just doesn't want to put up with they just don't want to put up with the fuss after 12 o'clock. Like there's
I don't blame them, man. I don't blame. That's a good call by them.
Yeah.
Because man, there was some knuckleheads that were hanging out on Saturday night in Omaha, downtown Omaha.
You guys called it all week. It's an SEC Saturday, and unfortunately, it was also an SEC Friday, and that's just kind of what it turned into. But they and credit to Rocco's and Lefties, like they kill it during the day. Where I mean, that place is always packed and they're selling. But it's not also too. What I noticed is it's not just like the Jell-O shots. Like there are a lot of people who are just drinking everything else as well. In terms of like the things that they're making that you don't see on the board. And so it's like they kill it and they don't have to be open till 2 a.m. in order to hit their quotas and make sure that, everybody gets paid and everything like that. So
Yeah, I've never, the parking lots are not packed. Saturday night was packed, but again, the game, because Kate Anderson controlled the game, kind of took the air out of it. But outside, like Baseball Village, have never seen that amount of people. It is great. There's a great vibe.
Awesome.
But then like Old Mattress Factory, they have 40,000. They say they have 40,000 people there over the weekend.
It was ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah.
The line, it was 8:00. It was 8 p.m. All right. And the line was already spilling out into like before you even walk in to the OBV to like get in to the Mattress Factory. It was absolutely incredible. But then it did get to the point where in that massive parking lot, it was like shoulder to shoulder. Like that area.
Now see that part is like for me, for you, you're probably like, this is great. This is what my parents experienced at Woodstock. For me, I'm like, nah, you know what? I'll go to this place that doesn't have a cover, doesn't have a line, and I can go quickly get a beer.
Shout out Mo and Curly's. Because when we reached that point in the OBV tent, and I was like, well, I didn't pay a cover, so I don't really have skin in this game anymore. So I went over to Mo and Curly's, and we had a great time over there where no cover. It was karaoke night. People were having a great time. The beers were very easy to get. And then on my walk home, I actually ran into a bachelorette party. And so then we went to Beer Can Alley together. So we had a great time. They gave me tinsel, so I was just wearing tinsel, hanging out at Beer Can Alley for a little bit, and then I went home. They were like, I ran into this bachelorette party. They go, we're wondering, we're trying to find this place that has like 3 bars and 1 bar, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's just over there, and I'm like, actually, I'll take you guys over there. So we walked on over together.
Of course you did. Of course you did. And
I was a great host.
Okay? So one of the knocks as the area around the stadium has gotten busier, and there's more attention on keeping people in that area to enjoy the College World Series.
Yeah,
the knock has always been the old market isn't as busy as it used to be when the series was at Rosenblatt. Because at Rosenblatt there was really nothing around the stadium, so you come downtown. Sure. At the ballpark downtown, people don't cross like 10th and Coming. So and you're at the Capital District, so you didn't go into the old market, but how was the Capital District?
I don't know anybody who went to the Capital District.
Yeah.
I don't know. And
that's a struggle bus right now.
I was with a group who was like, hey, let's go to the Capital District. And the other part of the group was like, hell no, we're not walking all the way over there. Like, or they were like, let's go to the old market. And the other group was like, we're not walking all the way to the old market. We're going to let's go to the Capital District. And that's what we did. So I never went there, and I don't know anybody who was like, yeah, we're going to, Billy Frogs or anything like that, or we're going over to that bar.
The fact that you can rattle off the bars, just
that's the only one. Well, there's the Dubliner over there. And
then you can stop. Oh, you're talking old market. Old market, yes. Yeah. And then I thought you were going to go back into the Capital District and just No, is the stock exchange still there, or whatever that place is called?
Yeah, but I don't go there.
Okay.
Yeah. No offense to it. I mean, I'm sure
I've been there. I've been there after 10.
Yeah.
Can I win some awards from you?
No, I go to Annie's, which is the bar below it, which is like that nice little Irish pub that I have a great time at.
Well, I'm glad that you survived. I'm glad that you survived the first 3 days. We all survived the first 3 days. The weather could be storms tomorrow, but the weather's been nice. Just don't look at the weather for the championship series because it's going to feel like Omaha. It's going to feel like Omaha in an oven, but the weather has been good. We just need some games that are a little bit tighter. Thank you.
We just need the ball to fly out of the ballpark. Like there were 2 fly balls yesterday from Oregon State. I think it was in that 3rd or 4th inning where they look cranked, and then they just ended up dying on the warning track. Like that's I think if I were to have a complaint about the CWS is like there was 1 home run against Arizona, and then
I think all the home runs that have been hit by teams that lost.
Yeah,
but here's another thing: it seems like every guy that is pitching so far in the College World Series is throwing mid to high 90s, whether they're starting or they're coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe the Louisville starter he wasn't throwing. He didn't. I think he was a little bit lower, but the pitching has been really, really good.
He was really good last night. Jacob Morrison, that's one of the better performances in a while on that mound.
And I know that like the UCLA bullpen hasn't necessarily been the best this year. I think they have over a 5.27 ERA. like past the 6th inning this season. But even they were able to lock up a Murray State offense that has been really, really good this year, and they kind of gave them a stiff arm. But it's been for me, this has been a fun, good first College World Series, right?
Yeah, you've gotten to talk about Northwestern football for 3 straight days, and I've enjoyed it.
Oh, man. Right. I mean, Josh was like, I'm going to roll out the red carpet. I'm going to give you the alley. You could just go to the hoop and talk about Northwestern football. I go, this is like heaven on earth.
So, and you two are perfect for doing those shows because all you want to talk is football.
Bishop was giving us so much crap for talking about football, and it's so funny. It is so
Why?
funny.
That's what those shows should be.
When we get to the literally 3 minutes before you get onto the broadcast, and Josh goes, "Okay, we're gonna pick the games. Yeah, who's gonna win?" And I'm like, "Louisville. Why?" And I go, "I like their coach." Josh goes, "Great, I do too." Back to you, Gary and John. Literally, I think 15 minutes before the game, I go, "Who's pitching?" I go, "Who's throwing the ball?" And Josh goes, "I don't know, but I think Fernando Mendoza is going to be really good for Indiana this year." That's what those shows have been. I don't know, but
that's what those shows should be.
They've been so much fun. I've been having a good time.
Yes, also, they should be a lot of fun and not. I mean, if you don't know college baseball, that's the last thing to do is people that know their team better than we do to hear a bunch of yahoos talking about, well, you know what? I'm not sure if they have to pull route early, who they're going to go to, because then do you have to look down the road? Yeah. Okay. No. Well, but we can tell you that Sam Pittman is on the hot seat this year.
Well, Josh, yesterday was like, "Hey, are you liking how the show's going and the prep and everything like that?" I'm like, "Do you mean that you just write down 8 topics and then I just look at it and then we go and do a show for 2 hours?" He goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, works for me." And he's like, "Great." So it's been a really good time. And shout out everybody who's come and stopped by and hung out with us, done the interviews, and I've been treated like an absolute king. Did you hear about this? They bought me and been providing me my White Monster energy every day.
I did hear that.
My jet fuel has been propelling me to new heights, but you keep saying that I've survived. I'm glad that I'm projecting that because I am actually very tired of my voice. I'm losing my voice. But it has been fun. It's been a great time. You're so right though. It is crazy the amount of people that have been there. And what's even crazier is that it is warm, it is hot, it is sticky. I don't know how anybody is drinking beer because as soon as I'm done drinking beer, I need 3 more waters because I'm out in the heat and I'm sweating. I was drenched walking from the OBV back to my car, okay, for the last 3 days. So shout out to all the people who are really putting them down because I don't know how you're doing it. And I do think the weather in a way might be contributing to the to how the stadium in terms of the atmosphere and everything like that, because I imagine it's really hard to get super, super rowdy when your shirt is sticking to your stomach the entire time and you feel like you're walking in a sauna 24/7. So maybe we do need a little bit of rain just to lighten some things up.
We may need a Murray State upset today.
That would be
that wouldn't be good for consumers, but
that'd be something. Hey, we have a really good show for you today. We have Coach Jay Johnson coming on at 8:45 to talk about his LSU Tigers, who are going to be taking on the UCLA Bruins today. We'll also have the coach he'll be facing off, Coach John Savage, at 8:15, and then we will have Mr. Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald at 9 o'clock. Today's lineup is powered by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. And don't forget, if you want to call in, talk to us about your experiences at the College World Series, 402-951-1620. That's the Prairie Flower Casino hotline. And if you want to give us your thoughts, your hot takes, I know we had a couple emails over the weekend. Nathan from Ohio has been giving us incredible updates about his family vacation in Disney World. You can email us at the Equitable Bank inbox, Matt at 1620 The Zone, Gary at 1620 The Zone. And also don't forget to reach us on the JTech Construction Twitter, at Gary Sharp, at Matt McMedia. It was a absolute weird day in the MLB. We'll talk about that as a longtime third baseman of a historic franchise got traded. Also, we have the return of one of the best players in baseball also as well. Also, JJ Spawn just was what a victory. What a US Open. Oakmont won, right? JJ Spawn won, but Oakmont won. That was the most important thing. And we have a lot more things to talk about. The NBA Finals is today. We'll talk about why the hell are we doing 2-day breaks in between every game? I know this isn't like a new thing, but like I am not a fan of like the extra day of rest. I prefer the whole 1 day, but we'll get into that as well. We have a loaded show, and don't forget, we have the College World Series going on, baby. We got the OBV shows. We got Gary Sharp on the call. We got John Bishop on the call. We got Connor Happer catching fly balls. I was shocked to hear that in all the years of doing the CWS, he was the first person ever to catch a foul ball, which, by the way, I would catch a foul ball every year if I was doing the sideline job. No big deal. They call me Matt Hampel. So, hey, don't go anywhere. We got a great show here on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. You know, I suck at sports. I don't know if you know that. I am not good at sports ever. The only sport I've ever semi decently good at
Mm-hmm.
hockey, and I only made it to Illinois high school hockey. Like it's not like I wasn't even accomplished in that. Yesterday was awesome. I love seeing people suck at sports as much as I suck at sports.
Whoa, where are we going here?
The US Open was the US Open yesterday. And it was I like Terrell Haddon. I maybe that's an unpopular opinion. I think some people think he's crazy and he's obnoxious, but he what represents so many golfers on the course. Just and the best part about him is he does kind of have, at least the blow-ups I've seen from him, he does have the willingness to be like, all right, I'm gonna spike my club, but I'm gonna spike my club in a spot where nobody will hit the ball. Right. So he's like pissed, but he does show still a little bit of etiquette on the golf course while he's just absolutely going crazy. The US Open was incredible yesterday. I love, as someone who is not athletic, as someone who struggles greatly at golf and just struggles greatly at sports, yesterday was fun. These guys were chipping the ball from the rough, into the rough, from the rough, into the bunker. I was like, when Sam Burns had his tee shot and he just completely missed the green on 17, I was like, "Hi, you're brutal. You're blowing up. What's going wrong? Come on, Sam. Aren't you a pro?" It was great. It was serenity. All right. It was serenity. It was awesome to watch.
Well, as all of us weekend hackers would hit 200 on that course, even as it was pouring. And I'm glad, by the way, they didn't stop.
Oh, me too.
Like when it started to pick up rain again after they came back from the delay. I mean, Scotty Scheffler said it right. Boys, this is a sport that's made to be played outside. I think as the drama unfolded, and this is what the U.S. Open is, because it's more mental to me than physical.
Yes.
Like, because you're going to ride the roller coaster. I think it appealed to both the casual and the hardcore golf fans, because look at JJ Spawn. JJ Spawn not only won the U.S. Open, which will change his life forever. I mean, now people are going to debate if he's getting along with his wife or not because he didn't mention her in his acceptance speech.
I love that, by the way, that's what we talk about on Twitter. Like,
hey, now you know what? Unfortunately, it comes with the territory that when you get in the limelight, people start digging up your background and they go, "Well, I wonder who his wag is. I wonder what his political beliefs are." You know,
congratulations, JJ. You should get couples therapy.
Like, it was a big story last night. It's like, hey, man, look, he didn't even he was cold towards his wife, and apparently they're having issues, and he didn't thank her. And I'm like, who gives a crap? The guy just won the U.S. Open. It has changed his life forever. Right. You know what? He's got so many things going on in his head and so many emotions. I mean, that's his thing. Okay. I just want to see if he'll be able to do it again. But I think he not only won the U.S. Open, he saved it too. Because it wasn't like, oh, man, the course is winning. That was carnage, and that was rough to watch, and that was bad golf. Like, it was really, really bad golf. It wasn't the course was like, okay, the course has risen up. It was like bad golf. And it ends, and so you have this run of bad golf led by him, because you had a bogey fest, and you're like, okay, somebody, can we at least make a par? For him to make a 64-foot putt when he could two-putt, and he makes a 64-foot putt, that just saved the legacy of the 2025 U.S. Open. It was an amazing last couple of hours of television yesterday.
It's golf. Do you know why this is golf? Because this is the hardest course in the world. It was playing like the hardest course in the world. Period. End of story. And the guy who this time last year was ranked 169th, who had missed 9 cuts in 14 events and nearly lost his PGA card, he was the one who won it. It wasn't Rahm or Scotty or Rory or any of these big hitters. It was this guy that, I'm going to be honest with you, 90% of, not 90%, but unless you're like a hardcore golf fan, even if you're like a casual golf fan like me, you don't really know who JJ Spawn was.
No, be honest. You have no idea who he is. Until Thursday, he was having a birdie fest.
I had no idea who he was. Zero. Seriously, I'm not going to act like almighty sport guy. Never heard of him. Like when he popped up on like you said, on the leaderboard on Thursday, I was like, JJ Spawn. I was trying to like think of like dudes he looked like. He didn't really look like. And oh, by the way, too, the fact that it was like, oh, this is a monster course. You need to be super big and super strong and hit the ball long. And the 5'9" guy won. Like this is
because
this,
mentally he was stronger.
he was.
Look at
He
what
shot
this
a
would have
40 on
been.
the front.
This is a really, really fun story, because he's been, I mean, he's been fighting it, and like you mentioned, he's trying to keep his card. If he would have imploded and Bob McIntyre would have won,
Yeah,
we would have ignored this U.S. Open.
I don't know if we would have ignored it.
JJ Spawn winning is such a better story than Bob McIntyre.
Oh my god,
it's
way better. Like,
the USPGA got a victory yesterday for the way the course played and who won it.
So when Justin Thomas won the PGA Championship because Joaquin Niemann blew up and Thomas was just kind of sitting in the clubhouse and we were like, all right, cool. Like it definitely was like that's kind of memorable win. Like we're like, oh, Justin Thomas is a major champion because he's good enough to be a major champion. But we don't like. No one has ever been like, do you remember when JT pulled it off and did it? Like, no. It would have been this. It would have been the same thing with Bob McIntyre. Like it would have been maybe the course was too much because that wasn't entertaining. But I'm going to be honest with you. So he hits this putt, and it's going toward the hole, and immediately I'm like, oh, this is fast. Like this is a fast putt. I thought that thing was going to blow right by the hole, and then he was going to have like a make it or break it par putt to win the U.S. Open. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was kind of rooting for that to happen. I was like, miss it, miss it, miss it, miss it, because I wanted the carnage. I wanted people to feel like me for once in their life. I wanted people to feel like what it is to be Matt McMaster. And if that thing just blew right by the hole, and then you like miss the putt coming back, and then you even got to grip it even harder, like not to 4-putt, that would have been great. I have an idea though for you.
But you know what helped him is that Victor Hovland putted before him.
Yeah, show him the line.
I mean, that was a great. I mean, he got a break there so he could at least see it. But I mean, regardless, 64 feet, that's a hell of a putt. But here's another thing about the delay, and he said the delay helped him, which I think it did because man, his day started off awful. How many people watching the U.S. Open wanted them to stick with watching Tiger highlights from 17 years ago when he won the U.S. Open on a shattered leg?
I said this to Josh. I was like, this is how you know Tiger's peak is Tiger's peak, because I think I saw more tweets about the 2008 U.S. Open than I saw tweets about the 2025 U.S. Open. Like people were like really, really excited to be like, oh my God, here comes the bunker shot. Oh my God, he's going to like, people knew like, oh, he shanks this one on 18 and then he gets really, really pissed about it and then he's got to recover. It was Tiger's Tiger, and there will never be another Tiger. And somehow him not being in the tournament, he became somebody we're talking about. Like he just once again proved that like his run was it's almost uncomparable, like what he did for his sport. Now, here's my idea. Okay. We have the Masters, right? Pure bliss, serenity, class, Augusta, tradition, pimento cheese sandwiches. We have the US Open. Hey, this is tough. Everybody sucks. Okay. Nobody's good at golf. They're all going to shank everything everywhere. Over is going to win. Then you have the Open, formerly the British Open, links golf, home of golf, classic stuff. And then you just have the PGA Championship. Nobody gives a damn about. We need to change that. We need to make the PGA Championship something where everybody's excited and they need to tune in. So here's my idea. The US Open is the toughest golf course in the world. For the PGA Championship, let's put them on like a public course in like Alabama, or like put them on a really easy course, or like just a course where it's just like even scratch golfers could shoot under there, and let's just have like scores get up to like 30 under par. How about that? To make the PGA.
I think that's a terrible idea. I think that's a horrible idea. We don't need majors are in place for a reason. Like the best of the best are going to be challenged mentally and physically. I don't need to see a champion of a major be 35 under.
Come on, that'd be fun.
How would that be fun?
We give them a lot of
How would that
crap
be fun?
for being because it would
They
be.
would not challenge. The whole thing of a major is to challenge a golfer.
I'm just spitballing here. I'm just throwing out ideas. But wouldn't it be? We
You're a
give these
terrible
guys
idea guy.
I'm trying to be
I
an
still can't
idea.
get over the whole thing. He's like, hey, send everybody in Omaha a bat. Give them a bat. Let's just send them a bat.
Why not? It'd be cool. Can you imagine? You would love to have 15 bats on your wall, being like, yeah.
Just stick to the ideas of how you navigate the bouncer in front of Old Mattress Factory. Just focus on that. That's your best idea.
So when you were told the story, you can't act like you weren't a little bit proud of me.
I was like, okay, this is on brand. And I go, then the pivot is pretty impressive. I said, my boy is he is learning from the master.
I am. I mean, I was
It was
able
a good pivot. It was a good pivot. It was a nice par save is what you had.
Well, she is a very, very, I just want to say she's a great person. She's a very nice individual. And I was like, I was a little offended that she didn't remember who I was. And so I had to prove to her that I remembered who she was. So, and I got in with no cover. But then I want to say this too, because you'll be proud of me like this. I did not bring my 5 friends in with me.
Okay? Yeah, I heard they since they couldn't get in, you guys all left.
I didn't stay there too long because they didn't want to wait in line. But I should get some credit because I could have really been like, could my 5 friends come in with me? Like can they piggyback right behind me? And like I could have really tried to flex my muscle, but I decided to be respectful and understand that I am the rookie. I am not the master. I do not have that pull. Maybe in 2 years I could get the 5 boys in. But I did not do that. I contained myself.
Good job.
Hey, what do you tell me all the time when I'm out in public without you?
Don't embarrass yourself and don't embarrass the station.
There you go. And I do my absolute best to hold to that. All right. I make sure to not embarrass me, to not embarrass you, and not embarrass Jamie and 1620. And I do my best to do myself before I do others. Okay. Those are the 2 things that I live my life by. Okay. So here we go. Pat on the back. Matt McMaster. Good weekend. I don't know if it's going to hold true in back-to-back weekends. But hey, we have an anniversary today of one of the most important and pivotal things that has ever happened in all of sports. And funny enough, it coincides with something kind of similar, not to the same degree, but something a little weird that happened yesterday. We'll get into it. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Gary and Matt here on 1620 The Zone. It's the diamond anniversary of the College World Series, 75 years. It's been here in Omaha, which, by the way, I had no idea that a diamond anniversary was 75 years until I showed up to the ballpark and I saw the big old diamond in the outfield. And I was like, why is there a diamond? And then somebody had explained to me that, 75 years diamond anniversary.
Mhm.
But today is the 50-year anniversary of something that was very pivotal in all of sports, in particularly basketball. First off, do we call 50 year? Is that like a gold anniversary? Is it like an anniversary? What do we call it?
No, it is not gold.
Is there a name for it though? 50 years? I feel like there should be a.
I've heard it referred to as the Golden Jubilee.
Okay, wait. You can't poo-poo me and told me it's not a gold anniversary, and then tell me it's the Golden Jubilee.
But I don't think it's. I don't think gold is what you give on your 50th anniversary. I didn't make it to 50, so I have no idea.
I was gonna ask. What do you give on a 50-year anniversary? I mean, that would be 50-year anniversary. Jeez, that'd be way too.
Well, okay, so white gold.
White gold. See, I was there. Why is it?
That
white
is not
gold?
true gold.
Why is it not? All right. Anyway, what do you think today is the 50-year anniversary
of? This is in the NBA Finals.
It's in the NBA. It's a trade. It's a trade that happened in the NBA 50 years ago. To this day.
Lou Alcindor was traded from the Milwaukee Bucks.
Very
good. Right?
Yes, it's exactly what it was.
I did not know that.
Wow, I thought you said it where you knew it immediately.
I knew because I knew it was in the 70s. But the fact that you brought it up as being some significant, yes, changed his career, and he got rings and everything,
and made Lakers fans insufferable for the rest of time. Okay, and they get to now walk around with all those rings from the 80s, acting like they accomplished something, and made Dallas.
They've added a few since then, I should add.
It made Dallas Cowboy fans and Yankee fans even more insufferable with the Lakers winning all of those titles after. Which, by the way, I mean, I don't think there's been a trade that's had more of an impact since then across any sort of sport in terms of just pure what happened afterwards. And look at the trajectory too of the two teams. Like the Lakers became, I mean, they already were at that point. Well, I mean, they're budding with the Celtics, but it cemented themselves even more as one of the greatest franchises of all time. And then the Bucks didn't get a superstar really until 40 years later. And then now they're going to trade that guy again in a massive package because Milwaukee likes to win one title with generational talent and then absolutely screw it up because they do that better than anybody else in the NBA. Yes,
it was. So, I mean, I'm glad you brought this up. By the way, Game 5 is tonight, and Oklahoma City is a monster favorite, which, hello. It was kind of the Luka trade back in the day. It would have probably been covered like that because if you look at what Milwaukee got back for him, basically not much.
No. So I found it on on thisdayofsports.com. And the trade is described like this, which absolutely hits your point. 1975, the Milwaukee Bucks trade Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Walt Wesley to LA Lakers for 4 players. It's we don't even look back and have names for the guys that the Milwaukee Bucks got for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And I mean, the Dallas Mavericks are going to be they're going to be pretty good this year with Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. But Max Christie is going to be that guy where it's who was the other guy in that Anthony Davis trade. But I don't think there's been I got into a big debate about the Luka trade and was the Luka trade bigger than the Kareem trade? In terms of nothing, I mean, unless Luka wins 5 titles with the Lakers, like Kareem did, I don't think you could say it's as big of a trade. But in terms of shock factor, imagine if there was Twitter back then in 1975.
But Kareem wanted out of Milwaukee, though.
Oh yeah,
he wanted to go to New York. Luka wasn't openly telling the front office, "I want out of Dallas." So that would be a little bit of a difference. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's run in Milwaukee, and he was only there for 6 years. He won 3 MVPs. You know how many MVPs he won with the Lakers?
0.
3.
Oh, Okay.
But the difference is championships, and that's why you make that trade. He got 5 with the Lakers, and there was just 1 with the Bucks.
That's the thing too. Like,
I also think, isn't you may not know this off the top of your head. I think until Giannis, like 3 or 4 years ago, passed him, I think Kareem for the longest time was still the franchise scoring leader.
The thing is that you could argue that the Milwaukee Bucks legacy up until Giannis won a title was, they were the team that had Kareem before.
Nelson, the Mecca, Junior Bridgman, Sidney Moncrief, Jack Sigma, Paul McKeskey.
Stop. Don't act like the Milwaukee Bucks
Harvey Catchings.
Stop it. Don't act like the Milwaukee Bucks mattered until Giannis Antetokounmpo a couple of years ago. Okay, Milwaukee, the Bucks were nothing. All they were a flash in the pan. There was like 2 years of like Brandon Jennings was cool.
Is such a Chicago take, but continue on.
They were the little brother. They were the little brother forever. Nobody gave a damn about them. Nobody went to the games. The Bradley Center was a dump. All right. The Bradley Center looked like a Marriott hotel. Okay. It was ugly, red carpet. It was smelly. That club section looked like a diner. Okay. And yes, I sat in the club section at the Bradley Center, right? I like luxury. And my dad worked in Milwaukee and we got nice tickets. It was like going to a Perkins. All right. It was nothing. There was nothing special about the Bradley Center. And then they built the Pfizer Forum, which is like the nicest stadium I've ever been to in my entire life. And they got Giannis Antetokounmpo, and everybody thinks they matter. And now everybody is finding out this is what the Milwaukee Bucks do. They get a superstar. Everybody gets excited about him. Then they fluff it up, and now they're going to trade the guy just like they traded the guy 50 years ago today. The Bucks were the team that had Kareem and did nothing with him until a Greek god came and played on their team, and now they're going to trade him.
I like that I like the rival. I'm learning more about the rivalry between people from Chicago and the entire state of Wisconsin.
People from Illinois do not like people from Wisconsin, and people from Wisconsin cannot stand people from Illinois. Okay. They cannot stand us, in part because we have tollways, and anytime that they have to like drive into Illinois or do anything, because there's so many people in Wisconsin who you either work in Milwaukee or you work in Chicago. Because you got to come and you got to mooch off us in order to get your paycheck. And so they get really mad when they drive to work every day and they got to pay these tollways. And right. So that's why they like slash our tires and, tell us that they don't like us, or like why we always get pulled. The amount of people that get pulled over when you have Illinois license plates in Wisconsin is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. But the Bucks are terrible. I'm glad everybody is now realizing that they can't manage a target, okay? And they won one title, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, they could be a dynasty. Giannis Antetokounmpo could end up being like a top 10 player of all time." Little did they know that it's Milwaukee. This is what they do. So in 30 years from now, that we'll talk about how they traded Giannis in his prime, and Giannis went on to win like 2 more MVPs and 4 more titles with the San Antonio Spurs and Victor Wembanyama. And they became an absolute wagon, and Milwaukee only got 1 title out of him. And I can't wait for it. Cannot wait. Be absolutely great. But another trade happened yesterday that good for the MLB. Let's give a round of applause for the Major League Baseball, because in a day yesterday that was cramped full of NASCAR, shout out Shane Van Gisbergen, who won in Mexico yesterday. He got into a fight with Ricky Stenhouse, got into another fight, by the way, with Carson Hocevar. I don't know if you saw that, but that's becoming a great rivalry in NASCAR. And the U.S. Open was absolutely incredible, and the College World Series was great. But we are all talking about the MLB because Rafael Devers is on his way to San Francisco. Buster Posey does it again, fleeces the Boston Red Sox, brings one of the best hitters in all the entire league over to San Francisco, and the Boston Red Sox absolutely fluff up a situation with one of the more important guys in their franchise in the last decade and end up having to ship him out because they don't know how to manage relationships.
I think he played himself out of Boston. I think he's one of the best hitters in baseball, yes, but he's also you're inflicting that clubhouse. And also, doesn't Matt Chapman play third base for the Giants?
So that was my question.
He plays third base for the Giants, and that's why Devers is so upset. It's not the Mookie Betts deal. It's you got a guy that is disgruntled, that you have young guys that you're bringing up And that's the last thing you want is the Roman Anthonys and the Campbells of the world, the young prospects, the next stars for the Red Sox, so to speak. That's the last thing you want is them being around him, of his negativity. I mean, he got himself traded out of Boston, and it kind of sucks on the heels of Boston's playing better of late, and they just went into New York and swept the Yankees. But I think in the long run for Boston, it actually bodes well. But good on Buster Posey. Buster Posey is all in a division that is great, where you have the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Padres are separated by the slimmest of margins. But there's a guy that plays third base that you pay a lot of money in San Francisco to. Where's he going to play?
So that was my.
And Chapman is on the IL right now, but still, when he comes back, he's your third baseman.
I think that says a lot of what happened, and the fact that Devers, who by the way is not a good defensive first baseman or third baseman, has been one of the worst defensive third basemen in the league over the last couple of years. And the Red Sox, I mean, they probably should have known, hey, bringing in Alex Bregman is really going to make our best hitter on the team very, very mad. But they did it anyway, and maybe they thought they could have handled the situation better, or not made him as mad. But clearly, and there was a report today from CBS that he wanted out, dating all the way back to spring training. When they told him he wasn't going to be playing when they tried to move him to first base. Yeah. And so this has been, I think this has kind of been like a situation where it's been interesting because that he's upset, and that there was a squabble, and that he has not liked the fact that he wants to play third base and they won't let him play third base because they have a better third baseman on the roster. I just think it came out of nowhere yesterday in terms of it's just random ass in June. You're just sitting down. It's 5:00, and then all of a sudden a guy who's hitting whose OPS plus is 152 is on his way to San Francisco, across the country, to one of the most loaded divisions probably in all of sports, and he's going to be in the same exact position he was in Boston. He's not going to be playing third base. He's going to be DHing again, and so we'll see what happens. I think it makes it really, really interesting. He'll
be happy. He's out of Boston. I mean,
yeah,
it's they're in smack dab in the middle of a pennant race. They got a really good team. I mean, he'll be happier there. But how long will he be happy if he's not playing the position that he wants to play? But it's also you mentioned something about messaging. I think he probably will relate better to Buster Posey. So maybe that'll help. But good on the Giants, man. That's going to force, you make a trade like that in the middle of June. It's going to force our team, who by the way has a 5.5 game lead, to start thinking about the trade deadline being sooner than the end of July.
Well, I think
because if a trade like this can happen in the middle of June, why do you have to wait until the end of July to make a trade to help your roster, where you get 3 or 4 less weeks of that player being on your team?
Cubs are definitely in a weird spot in the season in terms of the fact that they are winning games, and they did beat the Pirates yesterday, but they haven't been playing their best baseball. I mean, they played pretty well against the Tigers, but then the Philly series didn't really go the way that you wanted to. And yes, they've won these games against the Pirates, but their offense has not been good. I mean, they've won 2-1 and they won 3-2. And you're like, all right, now you're kind of in the slumpier part of the year for the Cubs. But the San Francisco Giants right now, plus 2,200 to win the World Series, which, I don't know, it's a pretty good bet. Pretty good bet if you ask me.
How'd Mick Sportsbook do this weekend with the U.S. Open?
We lost. Now, my head was in the right spot, okay? Because my head said this, right? My head was like, the favorite is not going to win. It's going to be something very random. It's going to be someone you never heard of, someone with high odds, somebody that you're going to be able to make a lot of money on. My problem is that I picked the wrong guys to do that. So shout out Keegan Bradley, who I tried convincing myself, what if Keegan has a big day? What if Keegan goes 4 under? What if Keegan could get to +1? He ended up having shot 4 over par yesterday, ended at +9. There was a moment where we talked about the mixed sports book during the OBV show because I thought John Rahm, who was in the hunt, I thought
he was what, four over for a bit.
He was 4 over and in the top 10. And I told Peterson, I go, if he puts a couple holes together, he could be fine dining. I don't have to schmooze my way into the tent. I can just pay my cover with my John Rahm winnings. But no, it didn't work out. And also too, I met listener Mike, who gave me the pamphlet, who's always worried about my gambling. He came up to the tent and he said hi to us. And he looked at me and he goes, "I'm proud of you." That's what he said. He goes, "I'm proud."
He's a good dude. He's quite the story to tell of where he was and where he's at right now. So I'm glad you got to meet him in person. He's a good dude.
I want to shout out our YouTube chat as well. Captain's in here today. Captain's always in here. He's the guy. Brian is in here as well. We got David in here. We got a couple guys. Debo from Lakeland, Florida, and we got one guy here today that I met over the weekend at the OBV Village. Charles is in the chat. I met Charles. He came up to me. He was just kind of like standing there. And there's this dude who's just standing in front of like the table. And, you've taught me pretty well. Just talk to everybody, don't be a stranger. I just walked up to him and I was just like, "Hey, how you doing, man?" And he looked at me and goes, "I'm in your YouTube chat every day." And I go, "Whoa, whoa, who?" I go, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Charles Carmichael." And
awesome.
I gave him a big old hug. And it was great to see him. So if you are at the Omaha Baseball Village today, if you're at the CWS, come and say hi to us. Come and talk to us. Let's have a good time. So it's been fun. You've been telling me that they're going to break me, that I'm going to fall victim to the grind. I'm thriving, Gary Sharp. I'm thriving right now.
I'm happy for you. I just worry about you when the sun goes down.
Well, I'm going to bed. I'm done. I'm retired from the going out at the CWS. It was I'm going to tell you right now, we were trudging yesterday. We were the hours and minutes became longer and longer before the beginning of the Oregon State Coastal Carolina game. And I was getting to the point where it was disgusting at the beginning of the day when they brought us some runza to eat.
Yeah.
And we were housing this runza in front of like all these people. These people were like walking by in front of our table, and I was just stuffing my face with chicken tenders and fries and burgers, and it was absolutely incredible. And I was
so they stopped upstairs. I am going to go into the lab and watch them how they make runzas.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm taking BP today, not on the field, but they're gonna, the pinging of the bats that all those kids. I told Josh Hodson, I was like, "Hey, what are the chances that we can get me a bat and I can take some BP on the tee?" And he was like, "We absolutely can do that." So we're gonna do that today. You're gonna see, everybody's gonna see the swing. Everybody, look at I saw you in your stance today. You were messing around with the bats at our table, and I saw your stance. I don't think you have a good batting stance. My batting stance is,
I would never hit with a torpedo bat.
Why? You're too honorable to do it.
Does nothing for me. You know what? Just put a nice piece of wood in my hands. Give me the Wonder Boy. And I'm driving that pitch 375.
Okay. There's something, because we have to get to a break here and we're going to talk about it. But this technology that they have for this like Rawlings stand and this Easton stand, I was holding a bat yesterday that they told me was drop 5. They told me this thing was a drop 5 bat, meaning there's a difference. There's five difference between ounces and inches. This thing felt like a drop 12 bat. I'll tell you something right now. For those parents who are out there in the Omaha Baseball Village who are buying these bats for their kids, if you buy this bat, some of these bats that are out there, your kid better be hitting a home run, because I would be hitting a home run with these bats. These things it's like these bats that they're selling for like youth baseball, they're like wiffle ball bats. Like they're moon bats. It's absolutely incredible. It's insane, the technology. So,
I told you, the youth baseball parent, once they walk through Baseball Village, their college fund for the kid immediately goes away. There is so much stuff to purchase.
There was someone else who was around the area of the Omaha Baseball Village yesterday who claimed that he was the Tom Cruise of burger making, which I don't even know what that means. But he and his staff had a pretty big week of recruiting. We'll talk about it, break it down in Is some in-state flavor finally coming to the class of 2026 for Nebraska football? We will talk about it next here on Gary and Matt.
Hey, Moose Roofing, you are looking for someone to take care of your roof, your siding, your gutters. You're also looking for somebody that's personable and professional and is local. You heard me right. Moose Roofing is the place for you. Guys like Rob and Bob. I tell you all the time about Pat Moose, but let me tell you about Rob and Bob. They're going to take care of you. They'll come out, they'll explain and educate you on what they're seeing with your roof. Okay, because you're going to look and your most valuable asset is your home. And you're like, okay, I hear they're the MVPs of roofing in Omaha. And yes, they are, Moose Roofing, from personal experience. You're going to be like, okay, that doesn't look right. But with you actually get with Moose Roofing is they're going to explain and educate. Those are key things when it comes to Moose Roofing, because that's always appreciated when a contractor, we've all dealt with contractors and they just come and the next thing you know is like, oh my God, what just happened here? They don't just talk to you, they talk with you, and they don't just say, hey, take our word for it. No, Moose Roofing walks you through the entire process. Plus, they're huge supporters of everything local. They are local. So if you have roofing, siding, gutters, you need a new roof, you need stuff that needs to be looked at, just start with an inspection today, because they're not gonna BS with you. Moose Roofing will be upfront with you on what's going on, what the plan is, and what you can do. And also they'll work with your insurance company. They are one stop for everything. They're here before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. That's why they've been here for nearly 30 years. It's Moose Roofing. To schedule an inspection today or learn more about what Moose Roofing can do for you, go to the website, mooseroofing.com.
Gary Matt is brought to you by AGR Roofing and Construction, local quality service, agrroofingandconstruction.com. Turn this up, Jimmy. Oh, it's a real Slim Shady right now. It's a damn shame you're not here listening to the music that we're playing right now, because I can imagine that probably back in the day at the club you were a real Slim Shady again. Dessert? Okay. And now Gary's gone.
Look what you did.
There was some, I don't know what noise was happening over there. There was like some construction noise that was going on. It was absolutely ridiculous. And now he's just left. How you doing, Jimmy?
Well, you pissed him off.
I didn't know what
you
I did. I thought it was a really good intro. We were talking about the real Slim Shady. We were talking about Eminem. And now he's here back sipping his coffee.
Try again.
No. Sometimes my the audio will flip to the default on StreamYard for me.
Oh, okay.
So then I have to reset. So I'm sure what you just said was fantastic, and it was Marconi-esque.
It was absolutely incredible radio. What I was saying is that Eminem was playing, and that I imagine back in the day you were an Eminem guy. Am I right?
Who wasn't?
That's one nickname that I never got in high school. I got a lot of nicknames. Eminem was one that I needed to have because, Matt McMaster, M, and then
You're big into nicknames. Boy, do you want a nickname? Do you want a nickname that sticks? Everybody wants a catchphrase with businesses now.
Well,
do you want a nickname that sticks?
Well,
or do we need to search for a nickname that is not like obvious?
You
want something like Big Dog.
This is where you get
Little Dog
more. But I had a nickname.
Homewrecker.
I had not a homewrecker, not yet.
Wow.
Hide your wife. Anyway, what I was saying was you didn't. I had
Don't treat your personal life like like a night out of the College World Series
where I use my talented tongue.
Hey, you are jonesing to get on Omaha Scanner. Local radio personality chased out of a home by upset married man who comes home one day, and the next thing you know, I could quote a line from Old School, but it's not 8 o'clock yet.
He comes home one day and he's like, "Why is there somebody practicing radio teases in my bedroom?"
Okay, all right.
But first off, I'm not going to end up on Omaha Scanner. You can ask our friend Austin Jacobson. I'm a very, very responsible man when I go out. Okay, I am the team dad. I make sure that we're all together. Okay, and I try and get us out of covers as much as we can. Okay, now
it's huge.
What it is a obnoxiously big.
I think it looks a lot larger on the stream than it does in person.
Putting it I feel like you're purposefully putting it up to the camera. Yes, it's as big as your head, dude. Holy crap!
It is it's a big cup of coffee.
Well, you have a big day ahead of you where we're announcing. You're announcing both games tonight? I take it.
I'm not sure. You know what? To be honest, I haven't looked at the schedule.
What? What don't you do? You're the color commentator. You got to do.
I don't know what our schedule is today. I will be there.
Well, I hope. I assume that you're there. I think I'm.
It's a big game. Arkansas, Murray State. Arkansas trying to keep their season alive. Murray State trying to keep the glass slipper on the foot.
I really hope Dave Van Horn doesn't go 2 in the queue. That would be
there's
tragic.
So there may be a Dave Van Horn curse in that side of that ballpark.
Okay.
I mean, who would have ever imagined that their ace, who had been breezing through the NCAA tournament, and you already knew it was going to be a low-scoring game, but would cruise through the first 4 batters and then completely fall apart.
So that
he would be out after 38 pitches. You cannot plan for that. And, it's not like they got blown out, but still against Cade Anderson, the way he was pitching for LSU, being down 2 runs is gigantic. Being down 3 runs seems ginormous. But to have your ace, who everybody was geared up, like your ace can match their ace, and he only goes 38 pitches, man, what a letdown. But today to me feels like this is where Arkansas bounces back and Arkansas wins a game like 12-1.
So
because they do have Gage Wood pitching, who is also one of the best pitchers in the SEC.
That's the part though that startled me the most about that. the fact that Root, it wasn't just like, oh, he got like through the first 4 guys. He looked dominant like through the first 4 guys. It was like, all right, like this is kind of what's going to be. Like it's going to be Anderson versus Root, and we're going to ride this thing all the way to the 7th inning, and then there's going to be a big home run, and that's going to be the game. And it really just was one bad inning for Arkansas. They gave up 3 runs in that second inning, and then from that point on,
they got great relief pitching.
Really yeah,
Gackle was great out of the bullpen, gave him a chance, but Cade Anderson was just too friggin' good.
So,
and then everybody that LSU brings out of the bullpen is, Shores and Evans are throwing 98, 99 miles an hour. I mean, that is the difference in the SEC is, there's teams even in the Big Ten, besides the West Coast teams, you'll have a guy that'll throw, mid 90s, and he's probably your ace or your closer. But the SEC, they roll guys out of the pen, and they're all throwing in the 90s. I mean, it's not like they got junk ballers coming out. They have dudes that, first of all, look like Brian Kelly can't find them on campus because they're avoiding him because they should be playing at Death Valley and not at Alex Box. And they're pumping it at 96 to 100. I mean, good luck. Good luck if you don't see that on a regular weekend basis in college baseball.
It's funny. So I was down by the field during, and I know it's the Big 12, not the SEC, but I was down by the field during the Arizona-Louisville game, and I was like sharing a rail with the Arizona dugout, basically. Like I had my hand on a railing that they could also put their hand on the railing. Why are you shaking your head?
I'm listening to where this is going.
And I was able to look into their dugout, and it is startling, like just how big those guys are and how just more athletic looking they are than like Big Ten baseball players. Like you look into that dugout and everyone in that CWS is like, that's a dude. That's a dude. That's another dude. That looks like he's like the best athlete from his hometown of like 500 people. And he's an absolute legend. Like those, like just the difference between like how some of these SEC, ACC, Big Ten, or SEC, ACC, and Big 12 players look compared to like some of these guys you see during the Big Ten tournament is absolutely startling. Now, what was startling yesterday was a picture that came across my Twitter timeline, which might be one of the greatest pictures I have ever seen from a guy who is now becoming a meme factory, and that's head coach Matt Rule. Did you see that picture of him jumping out of a tractor with 5 dudes standing on the tractor? That is hanging in the Louvre. That is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful display. It's so funny. I saw it and I thought it was AI for a second.
No, it was they brought a tractor into Memorial Stadium to do photo shoots with recruits.
How much
it was real.
How much do you think that tractor cost? That tractor, I mean, it was a big, beautiful tractor. I mean, it was
to bring it in or just like to purchase it if you're going to your John Deere dealer.
If I wanted to buy it from my John Deere dealer, that thing had to be close to like $1 million. Like that thing.
Combines really nice souped up combines are very expensive. Yes.
So on top of that too, he was making smash burgers yesterday at the Omaha Steaks event over near the baseball village, which, by the way, I would never put an egg on my smash burger. To me, smash burgers are just very simple. Just smash the meat, have the onions and the cheese. But he is out and about right now. It was a really big recruiting weekend for Nebraska football, who currently, in terms of the 24/7 team rankings, for recruits, they're in last place in the Big Ten because, and it's a numbers thing at this point for Nebraska. They just haven't been able to pick up a ton of commits, and even the one of the commits they do have, CJ Branaugh, definitely still in a battle. It's one of the softer commits you'll ever see. I think he was in Florida State over the weekend. We saw a tweet from Tony White, the former defensive coordinator for Nebraska, who is trying to steal Nebraska's best prospect after just being on the staff for the last 2 seasons. But for me, I know that some people, and over the last couple of days, we've seen it where you're seeing the recruiting rankings and you're seeing pretty consistently that Nebraska is toward the bottom of that. I am not overly worried right now about Nebraska's 2026 recruiting situation. They are going to get, and it seems like that in the next couple of days, we're going to see some more commits
in terms of I think there's an offensive lineman that they're expecting to get their commit pretty soon. But so far, and I've been reading a lot of these recruiting articles, nothing but rave reviews about just the facilities and the program and just everything that they're kind of pitching over there. And I think if you kind of just do math and you just look at the past recruiting classes that they have, 2024, 2025, even 2023, the numbers that they've been able to bring in, I mean, they're kind of close to 30 new guys a year at this point. And with this new, roster limit, it seems like they're kind of battling through numbers, and it's a quality over quantity situation in terms of what they're trying to get in the 2026 class. And I actually kind of like this patient approach to the 2026 class that they're having, because I think it's giving them a little bit more leeway to invest in the 2027 recruiting class and the 2028 recruiting class and get on some of these
What do you mean?
high name prospects. Well, they're spending a lot of time with Ahmad Hudson. You're spending a lot of time with
they have a realistic shot, though. You got to worry about 26 before you can worry about 27, 28. You lay the groundwork, but you aren't signing a guy in 27 and he's playing next year.
But I do think, though, that with Nebraska, when you're trying to sign these high level prospects,
no, let's don't talk ourselves out of. You are right. Nebraska's got a couple of guys that are going to commit, and I'm not gonna fret about the rest of the Big Ten getting guys in the month of June. I said it the other day. We were talking to Schaefer. The Big Ten is really recruiting well, and it's not just the normal suspects. I mean, the league is recruiting well. If we get to the end of July and we get to right before the start of the season, and Nebraska is kind of still sitting where they are, then I'm going to fret a little bit. But I'm not going to yet, because they have put everything into the month of June, and we have seen. I think I've been around it long enough with the recruiting that Nebraska. It usually happens in a flurry, okay?
Sure.
After their big push in the middle of the summer, then right before the season, there's going to be 4, 5, 6 guys that commit. So I will wait until then, but they need a sexy guy. They need Luke Sorensen just to make it public.
Yeah.
Because he's a 4-star guy. Hey, no offense to Rex Waterman, but he's not a guy that moves the needle nationally. But they still have a couple of more. I mean, they still have June to finish up. They have half of June, and this is a monster month. So I wouldn't fret yet. But don't poo-poo. You have to get some dudes in the 26 recruiting class. You can lay the groundwork, but if you just, what are you going to ignore 26 and focus on 27? And then you're going to sit here and you're going to tell me, well, where are all the players at? How come they have so many holes? And I'm going to tell you, well, you were the one that said, I don't really, 26, 27, focus on 27. Thing about it is, I think you have a more realistic idea if you're going to be able to get a kid in 26 than 27. Sure. It's great. It's great to have Hudson have interest. That's fantastic. But right now, how realistic is it?
I think it's pretty realistic right now. I mean, I think that.
What do you have that? What do you have that the other schools that he's going to don't have right now? Right now, and he's not going to commit for a while. So you still have things you can add to your resume. What happened?
Bad radio. My mic, my headphone jack got taken out of the box, so I couldn't hear what you were saying. That's totally on me. But here's what I'm saying. So this is my point, right? About the whole. I am, and like I said, I am okay with it. I am not like, hey, this is like, oh, we don't need to recruit for 2026, and Nebraska doesn't need 2026 prospects because they brought in 29 guys last year, and you have the 105 limit. What I'm saying is, I am not freaking out about it, and I think that part of the reason I am not freaking out is that I think that they are investing heavily in 2027. And you say, what do you have that the other teams don't have when it comes to 2027? Well, if you start now and you really start recruiting these guys now, and you're able to build these personal relationships with these guys, and you are focused, you're not just like, oh, hey, we're throwing out an offer and we're monitoring you or whatever, that you're already fully committed to, hey, even though that you're 2 years away from, or a year and a half away from committing, like we are on you right now. We're talking to you right now. You're taking an official visit right now. We're connecting with you right now. That's what they could have over those other teams
who are doing the same exact thing.
But
You
But
you start with your quarterback. They got their quarterback, and he's one of the best Pied Pipers they have. But you can't focus on 27 and just ignore 26. But again,
I'm not. But I don't.
they still got the month of June. They still got the month of June, and they have put everything into the month of June. They will see the results here in the next couple of months. If we get to opening day and they still don't have, if they still have their current set of commitments, then I would be very worried. But I do not expect that to happen.
Oh,
But I think it's great that they're doing work with the 27 and 28s, but so is every other program in America. Okay.
sure.
They're doing the same thing, and these kids are hearing the same story. So it's good to start somewhere. But right now, I'm not, unless it's your quarterback that you get, which they already have, guys that are saying things about Nebraska in 27 and 28. I take with a grain of salt right now. Until the next turnaround and they're on an official visit, where then we're getting closer to a commitment date and things get real.
I think they've had a pretty good month, though, in general, in both the 2026 class and the 2027 class. And I think Battle at the Boneyard and all the official visits that they've taken, and they had 8 this week. So over the weekend, they had 8 guys come in. I think they'll have 9 guys come in this weekend and try and add to a class that currently is ranked 71st in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's in it. And you said it, you were right. It's about numbers right now.
It is. And
a little bit of, let's be honest, quality. I mean, your number one guy is someone that could be on flip watch, unfortunately.
Well, and that's another thing too. And I think this is, and before we get to a break here, but this is kind of the main point I'm trying to make, is that I think in these in the 2023 recruiting class, and the 2024 recruiting class, and not so much in the 2025 recruiting class, because they only had 13 guys from high school, but it was a lot of numbers. Okay. It was a lot of numbers. They brought in a lot of different guys, and they brought in Dylan, and Dylan was the blue chip prospect. But outside of that, there weren't too many of these holy crap, Nebraska got this guy. That's an incredible get. And I think that in a way and I know what you're saying, okay, everybody else is talking to Ahmad Hudson. Everybody else is talking to Mark Matthews, but they need to get another guy like that. I know you are talking about they just need to get another commit, and I agree with you. But for recruiting, you win with dudes, and Nebraska needs to get another guy that I'm almost as equally excited about as Dylan Raiola, where I'm holy crap, this guy could be a superstar. Holy crap, this guy could be a first round NFL draft pick. They haven't gotten a guy like that since Dylan. And so the fact that they are laying the groundwork to do that with 2 guys who you could envision being that in Hudson and Matthews, I'm excited about it, because I'm all right, if they can get these guys, that is how this is baby steps, right? It's step by step in terms of how do you turn the program around? First off, you just need to get numbers and coach these guys and develop these guys.
This conversation is why people hate recruiting.
Why?
Because you're talking about guys that won't be here for a while. And oh man, if they can just get in front of them and talk to them, and maybe they say all the nice things about them, that goes back to the person that says, this is why I hate recruiting. Why don't you guys talk about the team that's currently on the field? Well, there's part of it is you got to keep supplementing that. But I'm not. I think I'm probably. This is the difference in what I have seen compared to what you have seen, and it's not a comparison. It's just there's a difference of how long I've watched recruiting compared to you getting involved here recently. Is I guys that are down the road a couple of years, unless it's your quarterback, I can't get enamored with, because even if they say yes, there's always what happens if they flip, okay, and you get tied into them. But the 26 guys I'm focusing on.
Yeah. Well, they are too, because, and you brought it up, you're not fretting right now, but we are getting to the point where if we're a couple of months and they're kind of in the same spot and they're in that 17.
Yeah, if they get to opening day of the 2025 season and the recruiting for next year's class is still where it's at, and they lose a great football player from the state of Florida, then I think it's start to ask about, okay, what's the process look like? How come they're selling? They've got all this stuff to sell, and they got a positive vibe, and they've got coaches that want to be here, that have a passion for the product. How come they're not connecting? Then we can ask those questions. But for right now, I think they're going to get, I think they will have 5 to 6 commitments between now and the start of the season. And I think a couple of them will be guys that you'll go, okay, he will be on the field sooner than later. It's just they need that one. The one thing I've with Nebraska football recruiting and a little bit with Rule is once the faucet starts to drip, there usually is a nice little steady stream that'll give you 2 to 3 guys, and it'll be bang, bang. But we always do this every year. We get to this point in the summer, and we're like, well, what's wrong with Nebraska recruiting? And then they find a way to get inside of the top 10 or the top 25, excuse me.
Hey, we have a really good show ahead of us here. We have Jay Johnson coming up at 8:45. We have John Savage of UCLA. He's coming up at the top of the hour, and that'll be a great interview to talk to those two coaches who will be facing off against each other tonight at the College World Series. We'll have Evan Bland at 9 o'clock too, and he'll be at the Omaha Baseball Village later today. So I'll get a big dose of Evan Bland today, which I cannot wait. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Gary Mann on 1620 The Zone. You listen to Gary Matt here on 1620 The Zone. I'm with Gary Sharp. I am Matt McMaster, also known as the Bulldog of Broadcasting.
Is that a self-proclaimed?
Not
'Cause that
self.
might stick.
That was my nickname at the College of Journalism.
The
We were talking
Bulldog of Broadcasting?
I was the Bulldog of Broadcasting. I'd be walking through. You can ask people there at the Coach AMC. I'd be walking through the Coach AMC, and they'd be like, "What's up, Bulldog?" It's my known. I was trying to get to that point. You're like, "You're a big nickname guy. We got to give you a nickname." I was the Bulldog, right? They'd be like, "What's up? What's up, Bulldog?" I'd be like, "Woof, Bark." You ever have a broadcasting nickname?
No.
Do you want one?
No.
Why not? I could definitely. I'm good at that.
Because I like my broadcasting name that starts with a G, the first name, and an S in the second name.
Gary, so that's the funny thing. I tell people that, my name's Matt McMaster. And
Yeah.
they're like, is that a fake name?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, no, it's my real name. And they go, who's your partner? And I go, Gary Sharp. And they go, is that a fake name? And I go, no, it's not a fake name. So you and I think we could claim that we have the best non-fake broadcasting name duo in radio. McMaster and Sharp.
Because we use our real names.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying we have just clear broadcasting names.
Well,
but I'm
it's tough-
shocked
it's
that
tough,
in
so-
all your years you never got a nickname.
I probably did, but it wasn't because of radio. Or if I did, it was because people didn't like me on radio. We met a guy yesterday who is in radio that was taking a tour that I'm not sure what his real name is, but he introduced himself as his radio name.
What was his name?
He probably listens to the radio station, so I'm not going to say. I did not know him. That was the first time I'd ever met him.
Okay.
But he said his real name, and then he goes, but people know me as blank.
Okay.
So
okay.
after he left, we had a discussion about, I'm glad that all of us have our real names.
Did
Because
you-
you would have to have a persona where people call you a name that is not yours that you have to respond to. And we've all worked with those, I've worked with
Yeah.
plenty of people that what their name is on air is not what their real name is.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean,
So
that's
you piss them off by calling them their real name when they want to be called their radio name all the time.
I've never done that before. That's like calling like your teacher by their first name. When you call like Mrs. Johnson Karen, she's like, what the hell did you call me? What are you talking about?
Oh, there's another morning show guy in town that his on-air name is completely different from his real name, and I still don't to this day don't call him by his on-air name.
Does he get annoyed at you when you call me? his real name?
No, because that's how I was introduced to him. He introduced himself as John before I ever heard him on air, and he's got a very familiar radio name.
I love some radio broadcasters' voicemail where they're like, you might be reaching this person or you might be reaching this person. Please leave a tone after the beep. The first guy that I ever worked with actually had a voicemail like that, which was actually really funny. But hey, something that isn't funny, that's super serious, but will be a ton of fun is we're talking to UCLA coach John Savage, his team tonight, taking on the LSU Tigers to eventually play their way to the CWS Championship Series. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Gary and Matt here on 1620 The Zone.
It is an incredibly special time here in Omaha as we are celebrating our state fair, also known as the College World Series, the Diamond Anniversary, the 75-year anniversary. So a special time calls for a very special guest, and we are joined on the Prairie Flower Casino hotline by UCLA head coach John Savage. Coach Savage, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Great to hear from you. We want to thank you for coming on here. This has been, and I'm really excited to have this conversation with you because this has been a very crazy season for you guys at UCLA. You're in the Big Ten, the first year in the Big Ten, and you guys have been traveling all over the country. You've been playing in the East Coast a handful of times, playing a bunch of teams that you guys haven't seen before. But despite all that, despite the craziness and the hecticness, you are right back where you guys are, where you belong in the College World Series. Just for you, how has this season and this transition been for you and your guys? And what has it been like, just kind of the resiliency of battling through, a tough travel schedule and all that stuff?
Yeah. Well, there's no question we've been on the road. And I think it started in the fall. We got removed from our stadium due to, the lease, the Jackie Robinson Stadium. And we were on the road. We were in the fall. We were in the bus every day and going to different high schools, Harvard Westlake and LA Valley and Birmingham High School and Notre Dame High School. And that kind of started the journey, really. And we did that all fall. And then we started the season and, went to Corpus Christi. And then that carried over to the Big Ten, like you're talking about. And it just seemed like the comfort level on the road was high. And the league, I really think, is getting better and better with the addition of UCLA and USC and Washington and, of course, Oregon. I think that's going to be a really good league moving forward in terms of inventory and depth and number of teams. I think they have a shot to get in and make a run. But the trips themselves were really, really good. We left Wednesdays. We came back late Sunday night.
Wow.
A lot of travel, but at the end of the day, it really helped the communication. It really helped the togetherness.
So, it's not easy getting to Omaha. It's not easy once you get here to win because weird things happen on this stage. And Saturday, sometimes you're up by 6, and the next thing you know, it's 6-4, and you're like, man, that guy pitched really good last time he was in the ballpark in the Big Ten tournament, and now he can't get an out. Why is this team built to handle those? And you may have answered the question with everything you've gone through this year, Coach Savage, but why is this team built to handle unique things to keep on pace where you're playing some of your best baseball of the year right now?
Yeah, I think you judge the team by how they look with the pitcher on the mound. I think we look the same regardless of who's on the mound. There's certain teams that look way, way better with 1 or 2 or 3 guys. And they don't look nearly as good with their 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We really don't have a major separation with our pitching staff. We have about, 10 to 11 guys. I guess you could call 12 in the circle of trust. And it's pieced together a little bit, and it's really, and I've talked about it a lot. It really starts from the back end to the front end. If we just get a couple innings out of our starter, then we can kind of get into our strength. So I think our strength is our bullpen. But you're right. Saturday was a grind. We had to make some big pitches pitching out of problems. And like you said, that's Omaha. If you don't think that's coming, then you're in the wrong place.
Coach, I feel like, and we've seen it, honestly, in this College World Series, that you have these 8 high-quality teams, right? And throughout the season, they've played great baseball. They've been cruising and been very comfortable. But then they get to this stage, and everything tenses up, right? And things that you haven't seen before, things that guys haven't done the entire season start happening. You're a really experienced coach. How do you kind of coach that out of your guys? How do you tell your guys, hey, be comfortable, play the way you've been playing all year? It doesn't matter that we're here in Omaha. This is another day. How is that for you?
You really have to have something to go to. You really have to work really hard on your mental game. You have to work really hard on responding and awareness, IQ, breath. The old Ken Revisa, legendary master of the mental game that was in our dugout. And he was originally in the Fullerton dugout. Then he was with Augie Garrido. And, he's the mastermind behind the whole mental game of baseball, certainly at the college level. And he was with Joe Madden with the Cubs. And Ken passed a few years back. But we still, we really use him and we use his teachings. And it's so important that they just breathe. I mean, it sounds somewhat simple, but they have to get to the next pitch, and they have to have vision, and they have to have some imagery, and they have to have some sort of positivity to get back to them, to get the best version of themselves.
I'm so glad that people now on the largest stage that your sport has to offer are getting to see Rock Chalosky, because we've gotten to see him in the Big Ten, and I watched him in the Big Ten tournament push a bunt between on the infield that he ended up with a double. He bunts again on Saturday, and that came out of that was not from the dugout, as you clearly said. That was from him. But he's one of the best players in all of college baseball. What is the ingredient about him that he's able to impact the game, Coach Savage, without even getting a base hit, whether it be at the plate, in your deep lineup, or playing shortstop like he has this year?
I think you're right. He has not played Rock Chalosky baseball really over the last couple of weeks. And he's a fabulous, fabulous player. And he's a tremendous leader. He's a communication guy. He has everybody's respect. His impact on both sides of the baseball is genuine. It's a real glove. It's a real arm. It's a real defensive mastery of really a 9-all-1 philosophy, team-wise. And then, he's had a huge year impact-wise, with the slug and the on base and the hit by pitches. And then you've seen the 2 first and third plays. He's all about winning. He doesn't really care about awards. He doesn't care about, 2 for 3 or 3 for 4. I mean, all he cares about is what the scoreboard has at the end of the day. And that's what makes him such a special player.
Head coach of UCLA baseball, John Savage here, joining us. But Coach, before we get you out of here, I got to ask you. So, early on in 2010, 2012, and 13, you guys had an incredible amount of success. You made the College World Series in those 3 years, and then in 2012 and in 2013, you made the Championship Series, and then you ended up winning the title in 2013. But that was 12 years ago, and I'm sure back then, during that time, you're like, man, this stuff is easy, right? I mean, this is what UCLA baseball does. We get to the CWS, we get to Championship Series, but it's been a while since you've had that success. For you personally, what have you learned in this kind of now decade and a half journey, having all that success and still having a great career and still winning all these games, but not necessarily getting back to the stage? What has this been for you getting back here to Omaha and on the verge of doing what you did in 2013?
Well, it shows you how tough it is to get here. We were national seed a couple times. We were the number 1 seed in 15, number 1 national seed in 19. We had an unbelievable team in 20, and COVID got us. I mean, everything has to be aligned. Matchups, health, playing well, having some luck. I mean, we turned 3 huge double plays in the regionals and super regionals where if those don't happen, it's a different game in all 3 games. And we're back in this team, and that's all that matters. We're back with this team. And I think the Big Ten tournament and playing Nebraska in front of 15,000 dressed in red, really, going to help us in this environment. We aren't young anymore. We have a lot of players that have played, like I said, 115 Division I games, went to Omaha three times out of a 4-year period. And we want that kind of run again. But for now, we're, are going to concern ourselves with our time here now and trying to, we won a national championship hitting 250. You think that will ever happen again? I mean, times have changed. You have to evolve, and you clearly you have to be present. And we love our team. If you look at the makeup of our team, it's 37. I think 37 of our 40 players are homegrown freshman talent players. Very unusual in this age of NIL and portal. So we're proud of what we built, and it's a hard model. It's a hard model to follow. You're playing against so many people that have added so many pieces, but at the end of the day, it's baseball, and you got to go out and play it.
Head coach John Savage of the UCLA Bruins, who take on the LSU Tigers tonight. Coach, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck tonight. We look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Head coach John Savage. Hey, I mean, this UCLA team, in a way, they've kind of been, ever since they lost in Omaha to Nebraska, have been overlooked. I mean, they've won over 40 games. They were near the top of the Big Ten the entirety of the season. And I feel like, I'm going to be honest with you. I picked Murray State to beat them. I think people thought, they're a good team, but maybe they're not amongst the elite ranks of the LSUs and the Arkansas. But it'll be a massive, massive game tonight against LSU, and you could probably make the argument that along with Coastal Carolina, whoever wins that game tonight will probably establish themselves as the favorite to win it all.
Yeah, you could basically UCLA. You said being ignored. West Coast baseball has been ignored because there's been a power shift. They won it in 2013, and they were filthy on the mound. They played 5 games here, and I don't think they gave up more than 1 run per game in those 5 games. I mean, they were absolutely loaded. And remember, UCLA has also been here when they had Bauer and Cole, where they're 1 and 2 in their rotation. But if you go back to 2013, when UCLA won the national championship, the shift in college baseball was starting then because there was more investment in the SEC, and LSU had woken up. And then kind of after that, West Coast baseball disappeared, and all the shift went to the South, and you've seen the SEC on the run that they've been on with, national champion after national champion and not repeat national champions. So that's why a lot of people get excited when there's 3 quote unquote West Coast teams here. They're a really good team. He just is a really, really good head coach that is not real flashy. Okay. I'm sure he was not super happy to be going to the Big Ten, but they navigated it where they were the co-champs this year. They've done something that is really interesting in this day and age of college athletics. They are a sophomore packed team. They only have 3 players that did not begin their career at UCLA. And in this day and age of the portal, where UCLA in baseball has enough of a reputation, they could go and get some guys. They also can go and get guys when it comes to high school recruiting and keep them out of the draft. And the draft being shrunk probably helps a school like UCLA. They're one to watch. They're probably here a year early, but they're just a good fundamental team. They got a good lineup 1 through 9. They don't have dominant pitching. Like they don't have an ace. Like Barnett is not a guy you'd go, oh, that's ace stuff. But they throw strikes, they get outs, and they compete. And I'm looking forward to the matchup tonight. I think Ianson for LSU is going to be a battle for them. But they're a typical John Savage team. They just go about their business. The most flashy thing about UCLA is their uniforms when they wear all blue like they did on Saturday.
I can't wait for when they do it for the Big Ten. I just can't wait. I can't wait until when they, if they end up winning the title and they do it for the Big Ten.
It has no effect on the Big Ten.
I know.
I don't look at them and go a Big Ten team. Like that's the problem with Big Ten baseball is, as somebody is the new AD at Maryland, and Maryland's been competitive in baseball, but they've fallen off since they lost their head coach to an SEC school. If UCLA wins the national title in Omaha this year, is somebody in the Big Ten going to go, wow, I got to rethink that revenue sharing? How much of a piece of pie that's not the way. I mean, it would be good for it. I think it's good for UCLA. I don't know that it has much of an impact on the Big Ten, but I did see a billboard, one of those mobile billboards on the side of a truck.
Okay.
Was promoting the Big Ten Insider newsletter.
Whoa.
That's as close as we've gotten to the Big Ten Network having a presence in Omaha.
Have you seen anybody from the Big Ten Network here? I haven't seen one person. And my wish of Tony Petiti coming to the CWS, I don't know if that is going to be fulfilled.
No. Well, here's just so, and this is UCLA baseball being in the second largest market in the country. They don't have radio. Okay. They have even the student radio. The students do the Big Ten Plus, and Big Ten Plus can't simulcast on radio. It's an agreement with the Big Ten. So to get their games on radio for the College World Series, because in the regional and super regional, you've got ESPN. So ESPN Plus, or one of the other outlets for ESPN takes care of the games. There is a booster from UCLA that paid to fly in their regular broadcaster for football and men's basketball just so they could get the games on the student radio. And that's where they're airing in LA, is on student radio. So you are kind of a blip. I mean, look at Ohtani pitching tonight for the Dodgers against the Padres is gonna squelch any UCLA. Hey, they're playing LSU tonight in Omaha in the College World Series. It's just where they are. But John Savage has preserved, man. He's one of the best in the business, and they just go about their business. It should be a really. I hope with the run of kind of meh games we've gotten for 3 days, I really hope this game lives up to the billing, because I think this has the ability to really be a good like 1-run 9-inning ball game tonight.
So, in your experience, and this is kind of like an interview question, but I am curious. Like, so you've talked about SEC baseball, right? You've talked about like West Coast baseball. Has there ever been such a thing as Big Ten baseball, like a certain style of play, a certain style of athlete, a certain style of like, hey, this is how you play Big Ten baseball?
No.
Like, I think that says kind of all you need to know in terms of,
because when Michigan played in the final against Vanderbilt, they had their own identity. Like they went. Eric Bakich had a roster full of some really, really good athletes that could run it down in the outfield. And no, there's no identity, because like there's an identity in the SEC, like we were talking earlier. Guys are pumping it at mid-90s. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. They also look like they're big hulks.
They're massive humans.
Because a lot of those baseball programs have separate strength and conditioning. They have pitching labs, where the Big Ten, there's a lot of schools in the Big Ten, they share their weight room with fellow Olympic sports, or there might even be a program or two that share their weight room with the football program. So, there's no identity for the Big Ten. That's why, like, you're John Savage, and you're like, your AD goes, hey, financially, we have to do this. And you're like, well, what about my program?
Yeah, no.
I'm all of a sudden, you're forcing me to fly across the country and play against Rutgers, who doesn't really care about baseball.
I don't give a damn.
So, but then that's where you change, and he kind of alluded to it. You don't look at yourself as a Big Ten. You say all the right things about the Big Ten, but you don't look at yourself as a Big Ten program. You look at your program that has won national championships, and you're UCLA, and you have a brand, and you play in the state of California that produces a godly amount of talent that hopefully you can keep home. But one thing to watch, and this is where UCLA's baseball program, what they're doing is impressive, because they faced a lot of adversity. They might not have a ballpark in the fall. They might be playing in a like a city ballpark or somewhere else remote, way away from campus, because of what's going on with Jackie Robinson.
It's absolutely, and that story, and just their story in general, the fact that they moved to a conference that doesn't give a damn about baseball, and they're the storied, historic baseball program, and they got to go all across the country, and somehow they still found their way to a place where they belong with a team that is built very differently than anyone else.
What's the difference? We said that about Nebraska, right? They're going from a conference that cared about baseball to a conference that didn't. They didn't do well right away. What did UCLA do? They come in and they're co-champs in the first year.
Well, and then you just said, they don't want to be Big Ten, or they don't identify themselves as a Big Ten baseball team. You don't want to identify yourself as a Big Ten baseball team, because Big Ten baseball teams don't make it to the College World Series, and they don't win national titles. And John Savage and the UCLA Bruins, they want to make the CWS, and they want to win titles, and they have an opportunity to do that this year. We'll be talking to the coach who he will be facing off against tonight, Jay Johnson of the LSU Tigers, coming off of a massive win against Arkansas just a couple of days ago. And then we'll be joined by the Omaha World Herald's baseball expert, Mr. Evan Bland. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 1620 The Zone.
The Gary Matt Show is brought to you by AGR Roofing and Construction. You can get your free inspection today by visiting agrroofingandconstruction.com. I realized over the weekend that, we're sponsored by this show is sponsored by AGR Roofing and Construction. And then our lineup is brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. And now Gary has left after I was setting up an incredible joke. Every time he popped out for 2 seconds and now he's going to pop back in a second. But it sounded like there was construction noises.
Turn around and suddenly he's gone.
All of a sudden, a jackhammer was going off into my ear, and then Gary Sharp just left, and now he's back.
Okay, so they're doing outside of my house. They're doing some concrete work.
Oh, okay.
So at 6 a.m.
Oh no way.
No, they were not doing they just started the jackhammering because they're doing some concrete work. But we had the landscapers were here at 6 a.m., which I thought was a little bit much. And maybe it's regular because normally I'm not doing it from home. Yeah. So by 6 o'clock, I'm at the station. I got to imagine if they're starting at 6 a.m., there are some people that are not very happy in this neighborhood because it's not just mowing. It is the leaf blowing.
I was going to say.
And that kind of stuff. So it's like loud. It was at 6 a.m. So at least they waited until 8:30 for the jackhammering to start.
Why are they doing lawn at 6 o'clock? Are they trying to get ahead of like the dew?
I don't know. It's not supposed to rain today during the day. Like a lot of places, like if it's going to rain and they need to get the job done, they'll go out early because they know that like the afternoon will be a wash. But I don't know why they were out early today. You know what? I'm gonna go to my Nextdoor app to see who's bitching about the landscapers in the neighborhood at 6 a.m.
You should go out there at 6 a.m. and interview them. Be like, guys, why are you out here? What are you doing?
That's probably the last thing they want, and I don't think they want to be interviewed. I think most people would be like swearing at them. I wouldn't be like, "Hey, tell me about your life. Like, tell me about your struggles to get to this point where you own your own lawn care company and how's business?" Because I know that a lot of people that own lawn care companies also own snow removal companies. Sure. And you had a quiet winter. Are you making up for it on the back end?
You've moved conferences. How has the travel schedule been for you this year? Have you moving to different districts? Has it been tough for you to go to entirely different households and do their lawn? I was saying before you left the StreamYard for 2 seconds that this show is brought to you by AGR Roofing, and our lineup is brought to you by John Higgins, the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. And then also you read the ad at 7:20 every single day about Moose Roofing. I just want to say this right now, and I thought about this over the weekend. If you don't have a good roof and you listen to 1620 The Zone, that's on you. All right. We are providing you all of the opportunities to get your roof fixed, your roof looked at, your roof fixed. So if you listen to Gary and Matt, I know one thing about you. You know where to go when it comes to doing your roof. Okay. So I'm just throwing it out there. But one place where the roof will be blown off tonight is Oklahoma City as they take on the Indiana Pacers in Game 5 of the NBA Finals. It felt like when was that game? That game would have been on Friday, right? When they played Game 4 in Indiana. It felt like when Oklahoma City won that game, they won the series. I felt like that was Indiana's opportunity on their home court to take a 3-1 lead, to establish, hey, we're not this just, cute little comeback story with Tyrese Halliburton. We are actually better than the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yet OKC just kind of stood around. They were hanging around, and then all of a sudden SGA started getting his foul calls. He takes over 15 of the last 16 points, 11 straight to end the game. And now the Oklahoma City Thunder feel like they're destined to, like they've kind of been destined the last month to win the NBA Finals. And it's got it. I mean, that loss in Indiana has to feel like just an absolute one that Indiana fans just you're not going to forget about.
No, and I'm glad that Rick Carlisle, by the way, stood up for the officiating, that it wasn't because of the officiating they lost.
Yeah.
Because I think that would hamstring you tonight if you're still talking about the officiating and that's the reason you lost, not for just breaking down in the fourth quarter. I don't know. It's Oklahoma City, when they've needed to get a victory, they've gotten a victory. when we're like, okay, it's now 2-1. Well, they went and made it 2-2 and they get to go home. This is Indiana's night. Like Indiana is still disrespected. Look at the line. I think the line is 9.5, which has to be in the history of the NBA. And unfortunately, we're going to get at least a game 5 and we're going to get a game 6. It has to be one of the largest game 5 lines that I've ever seen.
9.5.
Yeah.
Minus 9.5 for Oklahoma City. I still like, what annoys me about that is that what the hell does Indiana have to do at this point to like get our respect in terms of, and it's not, this isn't just like setting the line and like a Vegas thing. This is just like the fact that they have won 2 games. They are firmly like in contention to win the NBA finals. And we still look at them like, man, okay, they're cute or whatever, but like, they're not that like serious of a threat. Like, I don't understand. Like, and this just all boils back to the whole, we are just way too stuck in the past in terms of like promoting and talking about Steph Curry and LeBron James and Kevin Durant and having all these conversations. And we are just not willing to just be like, no, those guys are kind of old and like the new guard is here. Because like, we just still look at like, oh yeah, Tyrese Halliburton, he might be a superstar. What the hell does this guy like have to do? What does he have to do? Like, same thing with SGA. I'm guilty of it. Like, the dude like absolutely went nuclear, takes over game 4, wins the game for the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're like, well, he shoots a lot of free throws and he's a foul baiter. Like, it's just, I mean, this league, in part of the reason why less and less people are watching it is because it's just stuck in the past and we just talk about the same things over and over again. And we just like disrespecting teams that don't deserve to be disrespected. And I'm not talking about you or me. I'm talking about, the odds makers and the people who are actually paid to promote the product.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm with you. I think it was odd last night that there was no NBA.
No, why are we doing this 2-day break? Like, I just don't get it. Like, yesterday it was this is like the 3rd time now where I was sitting down. I was like, this would be a pretty good spot to have like an NBA finals game.
Was ESPN trying to protect their Sunday night baseball?
Do they even care about Sunday night baseball? And by the way, I mean, they spent so much of that broadcast talking about Rafael Devers. I mean, they even brought Jeff Passan in at one point.
Well, they asked Clayton Kershaw when they were interviewing him about Devers.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly why they didn't play last night. I don't know if it's a arena availability, but Sunday night has the greater viewership than Monday. But it also might have been the NBA looked at the U.S. Open and said, Father's Day, let's don't mess with Father's Day.
But wouldn't that be, and I understand like the NBA is not on NBC, so it's not like a lead-in, right? But at the same time, like, wouldn't it have been nice to go from that 64-foot putt and that incredible moment of a guy that not a lot of people knew about winning one of the toughest majors ever, and then you're like, oh, hey, we get to watch a pretty important basketball game. Like,
I don't know what the reasoning was behind having the extra day to play on a Monday, but like look at hockey. Hockey is the Stanley Cup Finals schedule has been stretched out a little bit more than I can remember in the past. Maybe once in a while you'd get the 2-day break, but a lot more than as you got towards the end of the series, it seemed like it was just the typical NHL playoff schedule where you had a day in between. So you used it as a travel day or you were in the same city.
So the conference finals were pretty quick for actually both the NBA and the NHL. Like, was that the reason too? Like,
I don't know, because I think I don't know this for sure, but I believe these dates are set beforehand.
Yeah. So
like the finals dates are set in stone. It's the other rounds that are kind of flexible depending on when a series ends.
I just don't understand how we had the NBA finals and the NHL finals going on at the same time, and there have been multiple days where neither of them are playing.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh, there's nothing to watch on sports tonight. And I mean, I just feel like yesterday would have been a really, and I understand like the lead in like the NBA is not on NBC, but like there was some like great sport momentum, in terms of, oh, we just got.
But you know what? I think I don't, man. You would have had to cut, like, for example, let's say it was on NBC. You would have had to cut the U.S. Open post.
Oh, sure.
Like, and also what happens? It kind of ran long. So do they hold up the NBA and then your celebration at the end hey, if you'd like to continue to join us, tune over to Peacock or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the reasoning is. It may be an arena availability, or it may be the NBA saying, hey, we know our place. We don't want to compete with Father's Day, and we don't want to compete against the US Open. We'll take Monday to ourselves, because they actually, they have the whole Monday to themselves for game 5 of the series, which, the ratings have been what ratings have been in the NBA. But I think the interest has been there because of what happened in game 3. Game 4 was exciting. What happens if game 5 is a blowout like game 2 was?
I don't think anybody will give a damn about game 6 if Oklahoma City wins tonight. Like, I think it'll be with game 6s, right? There's always the novelty of what if the team wins, then we can have a game 7. But I just feel like the way that we've talked about this series and the way that it's been promoted and the way we view it, if Oklahoma City wins tonight, we're basically gonna have the coronation of the Thunder, and we're basically going to crown them the NBA Finals champions before they even play game 6, which, I mean, I think that even would kind of do a disservice to game 7 in a way, in terms of oh, what a shocker. The Pacers won game 6, but we all know that Oklahoma City is going to win game 7. It's just this, how I feel about this.
Oh, yeah.
And I've said it over and over again about just the absolute failure that ESPN and the people who are in charge promoting this finals and these stars. And you know what? The funny thing is that they can't recognize how much it hurts them too. It does. It's your job. You're paying for this thing. You're paying for these rights to broadcast and trying to make money off the NBA finals. And it's just it just doesn't seem like they give a damn. So it is what it is. I'll keep being frustrated about it, but nobody's gonna really do anything. So, but hey, we still have a great rest of the show ahead of us. Jay Johnson, the head coach of the LSU Tigers, is going to be joining us next ahead of his massive game against the UCLA Bruins tonight at the College World Series. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Gary and Matt here on 1620 The Zone. If you are a longtime listener of Gary and Matt, you know that typically we have Evan Bland in this spot, but we had to make a little room and push Evan back a little bit further in today's show because we have an incredibly special guest, a 2023 national champion and the 2023 coach of the year in college baseball, and a man who will be playing a massive game tonight in the College World Series against the UCLA Bruins. It's head coach of the LSU Tigers, Jay Johnson. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
How you doing this morning?
Doing great. Hey, you played on Saturday in a game that was talked about. I mean, the minute we found out that you guys were going to be playing the Razorbacks, it was incredibly hyped. Everyone was excited about it. It was a really good atmosphere at the Charles Schwab Field. And a very rare instance where it seemed like the Razorbacks faithful outnumbered the LSU Tiger faithful here in Omaha. But how was just that atmosphere playing in that game? And what was the buildup like for you and your guys heading into that massive SEC matchup at the CWS?
Yeah, we were excited. I think anytime that you're here is special. And, you know, the 4 times I've been here, we haven't gotten away with getting that matchup that you like, per se.
Sure.
Arkansas, no exception. Great team, great talent, great pitching. You know, we have great team, great talent, great pitching also. And so the buildup was excitement. And I thought our team played well in the game, executed a good plan, and excited to be playing the night game tonight.
Jay, you've been so great. You've been so gracious with your time from Arizona to now at LSU. I don't think I've ever asked you this question. What's it like to be the head baseball coach at LSU?
Yeah, it's honestly like a dream come true. And I will say I feel the same way when I was the head coach at Arizona. And I thought it was really cool that both of our programs were here this week. You know, I'm happy for Coach Hale and Arizona. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime place, once-in-a-lifetime job opportunity. It's not lost on me how special it is. And it's really special because the amount of people that actually care about our program. And you see that every time LSU's in the College World Series. It's kind of a funny story. The first time I came here with Arizona, we were like pulling up and, you know, around the stadium, and I saw these LSU flags and tailgates. I was like, I'm pretty sure they got eliminated last week in the Super Regional. Did I miss that? Because they were still showing up at the College World Series, even though LSU wasn't here. But very thankful is probably the word that comes to mind, and obviously not something I take lightly.
You know, Charles Schwab Field, it's a big park, right? And definitely favors pitchers. And I feel like with the weather, it's been playing at its biggest. You know, for you, are there adjustments that you make throughout the game that you're telling your guys in terms of how to approach the plate? Or do you not try and, you know, mess up the mojo that has gotten you to this stage?
Well, we actually try to start that mojo for here long before we get here.
Yeah,
and it's not even necessarily about playing here. It's about, you know, being able to win any type of game, you know, pitchers duel, slugfest, big field, small field, wind blown in, wind blown out. And we take a lot of pride in that. And you saw some of that in the game the other night. I do think it's much different than most of the environments in the SEC. The SEC, all the ballparks were built very small on power to attract fans, would be my guess, with, you know, Bertman at LSU, the one that started all that and got people excited about college baseball and has turned it into this spectacle we see here in Omaha, which is awesome.
How are you able to, with this particular team that is extremely talented, and you put them together to have the top recruiting class in the country, how is a head coach, and a little bit of the satisfaction, but also how do you do it when you get to the point, and you've said this, one thing you like about this team is that they like each other. They care about each other. How do you get to that point with a group of guys that you're bringing in from all over the place to play for LSU and be successful and get here where the expectation is to finish your year in Omaha?
Yeah, I think you have to be intentional about it, and it's nobody's fault. It's just kind of the climate of, you know, recruiting in general is kind of a selfish endeavor for the player. They're looking for the best fit for them. They're looking for their best fit to develop for Major League Baseball and their individual goals and dreams. So we don't run away from that at all. We foster that and recruit off of that, because I believe I have a great coaching staff. We have a great blueprint for development, and let the player know we're going to give them everything that we can to help them. Now, the mandate is this is what you're going to do while you're here. You know, our motto for the year is tough and together, as you said, and team over me. And a saying that we have is we're always going to place the needs of the team above our own. That includes me, the coaching staff, and certainly the players. And what I'll say is this group has been special in buying into it and really wanted to make it here because I felt like they deserved it. I felt like they've lived that message out, and I actually believe it's been a very competitive advantage for us as well.
Last couple of seasons, when you think of LSU, you think of aces. You think of incredible pitching, right? And I know that there's the common characteristics of having great speed and having good stuff, but with the pitching guys that with the aces that you've had come through your program, have you found a commonality between an attitude of an ace? Is there a certain way that these guys just carry themselves?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a confidence, but a quiet confidence, if you will. I mean, talking about Paul Skeens, talking about Luke Holman last year, talking about Gage Jump last year, and obviously Cade Anderson this year.
Yeah.
It's not like this in-your-face persona. It's a very workmanlike, business-like, confident, just demeanor. And they should be, because they are really good, and they focus on the main thing, which to us is just always execution. And then they have the ability to go execute it. And then you have a beast that's, one of the best pitchers in the country. And, I've said this for a long time, college baseball, you can't get here anymore unless you have future major league players and pitchers on your team. And we've been fortunate to have that at LSU the last few years on the mound.
So sticking with that, and not just pitchers, but position players, because now you have me intrigued, because you were an assistant at San Diego when Chris Bryant was there, and he was the player of the year. You've had a guy who I really, really liked when you were with Arizona in the championship series, Bobby Delback, who is still playing, and then I guess later Delback. But then you go Skeens and Cruz and that great team a couple years ago, and you've got plenty of potential future major leaguers on this roster. What is it about the guys that you have found, being around a Chris Bryant on a daily basis, to a Paul Skeens, to a Cruz, to a Cade Anderson, and even Anthony Ianson, who you're going to pitch tonight? What's different about them that allows them to get to the pros and be successful on that level?
I think character would be the first word. Maturity would be the second word. They don't get distracted by things that are irrelevant. Baseball is a very simple game. It can be complex, and then the era now that these players are playing in, there's a lot of outside distractions if you pay attention to them. I think the common thread with those guys is they have exceptional drive, exceptional focus, and they never have really gotten off the path of what's really important. And then it's allowed their talent to show up consistently. And you're talking about Chris, who, MVP, World Series champion, college player of the year, rookie of the year, 4-time All-Star. Bobby's had a great career, and Paul's obviously the best pitcher on the planet right now. And Cade, it won't take him long to be up there in the major leagues, and Anthony, I feel the same way about. So character and maturity would be the two common threads with those guys you mentioned.
Coach, when some teams get to this stage, when they get to Omaha, they haven't played, competition like this before. They haven't been in atmospheres like this before. That's not the case for LSU at all, right? You're in the SEC and playing top talent in front of the most raucous crowds in all of college baseball. How has playing in that conference gotten you ready to play in Omaha?
Well, I feel like you're battle tested, and going into the postseason, I talked about something like there's nothing we have not seen that we will see.
Sure.
And like as impressive as Gabe Gackle was out of the pen the other night, we actually had seen him for 3 innings in the regular season series, and you're not going to get a better pitching performance than that. So I think you're prepared. I think the one thing is we've become so good in the league, you have to actually pay attention to. You have to win enough games. You have to weather the storm just to be in the NCAA tournament. But then you need to be well positioned for the NCAA tournament. And I think it's gotten so competitive. I think a few of our teams got tripped up in the regionals just because it almost feels like you're trying to survive an unbelievable grind. Now, the flip side is if you're right in the head and healthy, you're really prepared going into postseason play.
Hey, how many times when you go to your bullpen and you bring in the 2 guys you brought in the other night, among others, do you check the scoreboard at places that put up the radar gun? Because I can't recall in college baseball the amount of players, I don't care where they play, are throwing out of the bullpen mid-90s to high 90s.
Yeah, Chase Shores makes me look at it for sure. I'm guilty as charged on that one, and I'm super proud of him. You know, one of the first big high school recruits we got when we got the job, and then he got hurt, early April of his freshman year, so he missed all of last year. Has done a great job for us this year and really coming into his own here at the end of this time, and going to be huge, in our time here in Omaha for sure.
Coach Jay Johnson of the LSU Tigers, who will be taking on the UCLA Bruins tonight. Coach, I'll let you go on this question here. I feel like heading into this one, there hasn't been, as much hype and excitement just from like a talking and media perspective around your team heading into this tournament. And maybe in a way you've been disrespectfully overlooked, right? Have you guys carried that at all into this tournament and have used that maybe as a little bit of fuel to rally this run you guys have been on?
It's a funny question. I think we have a great team. I would probably agree with that a little bit. However, kind of what I just said about those great players you just mentioned, we help our team understand that, we're never going to be validated by what anybody says about us, both good or bad.
Sure.
And we are always going to focus on the main thing, which to us is preparation and to execution. And they've done an excellent job of that. And like I said, it's just like really attacking the relevant is a big, big part of our program.
Sure.
And as coaches, as players, you won't survive at LSU if you get caught up in narratives. I can promise you that.
Absolutely, Coach. Hey, thank you so much for coming on and taking your time. Good luck tonight, and hopefully everything works out for you, my man.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Coach. That was head coach Jay Johnson of the LSU Tigers. He talks with a confidence and bravado. It's like I would not want to line up in the other dugout and play his teams.
Yeah, he's he took the job. So he was here with Arizona in 21, and you looked at him because he's a California guy. I mean, he grew up in California. He was an assistant. He went to Point Loma. That's where he played. And he's going to be a California guy in the style of baseball they played. And then he was an assistant at San Diego. He got the job at Nevada, and then he went to Arizona. And Arizona is a really, really good job. I mean, Andy Lopez Pryor had gone through there and won a national championship, and he got Arizona here in 16 and got him to the championship series where Coastal Carolina beat him in 3. And you're like, okay, this is a guy that, any bigger job on the West Coast, he's probably going to be in line for.
Sure.
And then it shows you LSU did their due diligence.
Yeah.
When they're looking to replace Paul Mainieri, where do you look? There were some obvious ones that had Southern connections, but they said, let's go get a guy that can recruit, that has recruited with not the most resources, and a guy that can coach baseball and put a team together. And they looked at Tucson, and there were some people in the business that were like, whoa. And then there were the Kendall Rogers of the world that went, man, that's a really, really good hire for what LSU needs at this moment. Sure. Because Paul Mainieri came from Notre Dame. It wasn't like Paul Mainieri was an LSU guy. He came from Notre Dame where he had great success. So they went and found people that have had success in Omaha, that have gotten to Omaha. They got Jay Johnson, and his mindset, he's perfect for it. He's got a little edge to him. He's kind of like a Van Horn. And Wes Johnson, who is the head coach at Georgia, they're all kind of built the same. They're not very big. They all played middle infield or pitched when they were in college. But they know how to put together a roster. They know what it takes because it's competitive in the SEC, and it gets dirty. I mean, you got to get down there and play dirty, and they get their guys to excel at the right time. And, back to something we talked about at the beginning, this is kind of an under-the-radar LSU team, which is weird to say because they're highly thought of in terms of rankings and stuff. They don't have the star power, but they get after you, and they know how to play, and they know how to play here. That's the thing. They only have a couple of guys that were in the lineup back in 23, but they know how to play. That was a good question on what does the SEC plan, and the SEC help you for this. So they know how to play on this stage. So they're not going to be phased. They might be a tough out if they're able to win tonight, because I like Arkansas's path back through the losers bracket more than I would have liked LSU's. But if LSU wins tonight, it's going to be awful tough to beat them twice in a row here in Omaha.
I didn't know that he coached Chris Bryant. I was so
Yeah.
close to asking him a Chris Bryant question. How dreamy are those eyes? How smooth is that swing?
Well,
That's my-
I tell people when Chris Bryant went to San Diego.
Sure.
When Chris Bryant won the Dick Hauser Award as the Player of the Year in college baseball, and they always do this right before the start of the College World Series, they bring the winner in, they have the ceremony in Omaha, and then they make him available for the media. And at the time, I mean, we don't know much about San Diego baseball. Chris Bryant is kind of, flying under the radar. They
Sure.
bring him to the area outside of where the radio booths are, and he just sits there. He's with his, I believe it's now his wife, had accompanied him and his family, but it's just Chris Bryant sitting there for like an hour and a half, and no one comes to talk to him. He's dressed in a really nice suit,
Really?
and you can tell that he's somebody, but
Sure.
nobody knew him. Like, we're not like, hey, can I talk to you? Even Howard Borden, I don't think ran over to talk to him, and Howard interviews everybody. But
Howard interviewed me yesterday.
well, welcome to the club. Good on you. That's
Awesome.
good. That's you are. It is an honor to be interviewed by Howard. So nobody talked to him, and I just remember that he sat there for like an hour and a half, just by himself on his phone, just chilling.
That's crazy.
And now he's gone on to have the kind of career he's had, and hopefully he gets one more moment to do something before he retires, and injuries don't sap him.
He's got a great glove too. Hey, we talked to the coaches. We'll now talk to the expert and what he thinks tonight's game will look at. Evan Bland coming up next here on the Gary Matt Show. It was a interesting opening weekend of the College World Series that continues today as UCLA takes on LSU tonight. We already talked to Jay Johnson and John Savage. If you want to go back and listen to those interviews from earlier. We also have Dave Van Horn in Arkansas taking on Murray State earlier today, which we haven't touched too much on. But a man who, when I told him we were moving him from 8:40 to 9 o'clock, asked, "Who am I being moved for?" joins us now, Mr. Evan Bland, which I respect the hustle. I respect the fact that you wanted to know and that there was a chance that I was going to tell you somebody who wasn't as important as Jay Johnson, and you might have been like, nah, I ain't moving or I ain't coming up.
No, that's always just pure curiosity, because the answer is it's always somebody who's more prominent and more interesting than me. And it's just fun to see kind of how it falls out in the batting order. So I'm sure Jay Johnson's awesome. I'm sure he was fantastic. So good move on your guys' part to get him in, and just know that the versatile light hitting infielder behind him can switch it up.
Well, I don't have to go through an SID with you to schedule you. I just know I could call you and I can move you. I don't have to go through too many moves. But
well, Jay was so kind to hold on, Evan. He's got a question for you, Jay. Just kidding. Before we talk about the College World Series, with the portal open in baseball, it's a nonstop. You're always refreshing, you're checking. What is Nebraska getting with the newest edition, which it comes across the wire and people go, wait a minute, I recognize the last name and the name if you watched high school football in Omaha, but if you've watched baseball in the MAC, which there are some MAC watchers of baseball out there, what is Nebraska getting in Cooper Katsky, who committed to Nebraska out of the portal last week?
Yeah, I think it has the potential to be a really impactful portal decision. I mean, what he did with Miami of Ohio this last year, he was healthy, he was effective throughout, and I mean, it's somebody who comes in and immediately, in my opinion, is going to be in the mix for the rotation next year. Interesting backstory too, as a kid who grew up in California, later the Denver area, spent a semester at Omaha Burke playing quarterback. And so people, he built some strong ties that way. But I mean, when he chooses Nebraska over Virginia and some other pretty big name schools, like, that gets your attention. And I think some of that was because of the relationships that he had built locally. I think he does see something in Nebraska, sees opportunity to do something there. He's from a family of Nebraska backers, especially football backers. And so it's one of those examples where maybe in a situation where all things are equal, it would be harder for a team like Nebraska to land Katsky, but because of those connections, he wants to come back, and his grandparents are from the area and all the rest. So yeah, he's going to be in that conversation when you start talking about next year. And Ty Horn's going to be in that conversation. Tucker Timmerman will be in that conversation. Kevin Manell, who transferred in from Mississippi State earlier this month, will probably be in that conversation. But certainly Katsky, with what he just did in the MAC, is notable. And kind of like I wrote about too, when he pitched against Tennessee in the regional, Tony Vitello went out of his way to compliment how impressed he was with Katsky. And that's a guy who's taken players from smaller levels of college baseball the last few years of the portal era. So a lot of positives with him, and it's going to be interesting to see where he slots in next season.
You didn't mention Mason McConaughey. What is the latest with Mason McConaughey?
Yeah, I mean, it's, he's a guy who's going to have probably a decision to make with the Major League Baseball draft next month. There are a lot of scouts out there who think that they can probably draft him at a discount because of the injury that he had. But even if he decides to come back to Nebraska, just his timetable recovering from Tommy John, I think kind of the idea is that he'd be available maybe somewhere in the first third of next season, sometime maybe in March or April. And so you've got the ramp up period, and you just wonder how that could go. So if he comes back, sure, he'll be a key part of what Nebraska wants to do at some point in the year. I don't think it's realistic at this point, though, to say that he you could pencil him into the rotation right away just because of the recovery process. So kind of the ultimate wild card is Mason McConaughey right now, just in terms of whether he'll be on the team and what that availability will be next season.
I know we're having, and this is like the $1 million question, but we're having all this conversation about rev share and, you know, the piece of the pie and who's going to get what. Just right now, do you have a general idea of what baseball is going to get, not only just in terms of NIL, but in terms of scholarships as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question, I think. Like we've talked about kind of where Nebraska baseball fits on the list, like the spreadsheet that Nebraska's putting out in terms of financial support.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be somewhat fluid, probably as high as 4th, as low as 6th or 7th. But the one tangible thing that you can look at for next season, and Nebraska's going to have to figure this out, a lot of schools are going to have to figure it out, is how many scholarships do you allot to baseball? And so you're not talking necessarily about rev share there. You're not even really talking about NIL and how much the program is going to raise. You're just talking about covering school and paying tuition. And like, that's still a big deal for a lot of these athletes, especially as Nebraska continues to hammer in on these junior college prospects who this is a big step up for them. So D1 baseball has said that there are some Big Ten schools who are going to stick at 11.7. And I mean, that tells you all you need to know about where some of these Big Ten schools prioritize baseball. You've seen examples of teams in the South that are already saying, yeah, we're going to fully fund 34 scholarships. I don't think that's going to be the norm, but you're going to see some of that. And then the SEC, probably anywhere between 25 and low 30s is going to be the norm in terms of what you fund. So where does Nebraska fall into that? My early inkling is they might be falling a little bit below that, somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. I don't know that they've fully committed or decided on what that's going to be, but I think we're in a time more than ever where the expectations internally are going to make a big difference in what the team can do from season to season because of these financial components that go into that. If Nebraska doesn't see itself as a major baseball player or doesn't feel like it can fund it, and it's putting out 15 scholarships versus 25 among its peers in other conferences, like that tells you a lot. So I think that's something that they're continuing to work through. And it's been a program, I think, that the last couple of years has done more with less. And we'll see if it feels like it's going to continue that way or if it wants to invest a little bit more in that regard on the roster.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because we were sitting around a table yesterday talking with a couple of people that cover college baseball on a daily basis, Evan. And, we were talking about Big Ten, how many will fund, will anybody get to a full 34? And it was thrown out there that Oklahoma State is only doing like a full 15, up from 11.7. And we know that, baseball is a big deal at Oklahoma State. So it has the feel, doesn't it, that it's going to be fluid, maybe a year to year on how much you allocate to a sport. And maybe if you jump from, let's say, 16 scholarships, there's no set that you can't the following year be at 20, maybe, depending on how you do or what the landscape is.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it'll change year to year, and schools will have to make that decision. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the football conversation that we've had, where teams have had the ability to fully fund up to 105, but it doesn't seem like really anybody's doing that. Even the SEC kind of came out and said, we're going to fund somewhere from 80 to 90, and then we're going to fill out the rest, because the reality is you can't keep all those players happy, even if you're fully funding their scholarships. Like, guys want to play. And so, if you're LSU baseball, yeah, you could fund 34 players, everyone on your roster, but not all those guys are going to see the field. Not all those guys are going to be key parts of that team, and so you're going to see some turnover there anyway. So I think what you're seeing from the SEC in this idea that you're going to fund 25 to 30, say, is kind of in that vein, where you just kind of acknowledge, just by the nature of the sport, not everybody's going to be out there. You might bring in some glue guys. You might bring in some, not walk-ons technically, but guys who are sort of projects.
Sure.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of what Matt Rule said on the football side, where those last 10 roster spots are going to be more for the walk-on glue guy types, guys who really want to be there, who know the history of the program, that kind of thing. So I do think there's still a place for that. I think, that Nebraska baseball can still find value in bringing in guys like that. And again, not everybody is going to be a high-end prospect. You're going to see a lot of late bloomers. One clear strategy that Nebraska's had in the portal has been junior college guys who went under the radar for whatever reason, had a big year at a junior college level, and then it came across. So there's still, I think, a path to being competitive. If you're not fully funding everybody, you have to be smart about who you decide to invest in, and then continue to lean on things like development to round out the rest of that roster.
The most impressive team you saw at the College World Series this weekend was who?
I mean, it's got to be LSU, I think. Okay. What Kate Anderson did, and just I was reminded, I think, just how the Tigers handle the big stage. Like, this is nothing new for them. Like, you see the huge crowds all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, for Arkansas, it kind of felt like this was a big moment. For LSU in that game, it kind of just felt like this is another, Friday night at the box. Like, everyone's just, you're going to get 10 to 15,000 people, and people are going to show up. Like, I think that's just one of the things that really stands out to me. Like, as well as UCLA has played, as well as Coastal Carolina has played, like, this atmosphere in Omaha is a different deal. And those teams have responded well to it, but LSU is just so, I mean, it's just like a professional team out there. They're deep, they're interesting, they're used to this sort of stuff. They've been calloused by an SEC schedule and a really tough non-conference. The thing I suppose you kind of look at is, like, how deep does that pitching staff go? Like, this is still a team that nearly lost to Little Rock in a decisive regional final a couple weeks ago, so they're not infallible. But I just think they're really comfortable in these kind of settings, and it feels like that's going to make a difference here down the stretch.
What happens in the first game today, in your opinion? Arkansas, Murray State.
Yeah, really interesting. It feels like Arkansas was probably going to be a little irked about how its first game went. I think it's going to be on a mission. Murray State struck me in the post game of its first game like it was very happy to be here. Like, it's been fulfilled by the experience.
Sure.
I don't know that I sensed a ton of killer instinct there. I could be way off on that. Maybe that's the thing that helps them play loose and competes. But I just, a team like Arkansas, when you lose a game of that magnitude, like, I just think with what they've done all year, as deep, as talented as they are, they're going to be out to prove that this thing's not over yet, and that they still want to win this thing for Dave Van Horn, and they want to extend their Omaha stay. And it feels like this is a game maybe Arkansas could run away with. But I'm not the first. I probably won't be the last at Murray State either. So I very, very well could be wrong about that. It seems to me like this is one where Arkansas could run away pretty quick.
Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. Before we get you out of here, Evan, I'll get you one last question. There's 8 teams. There's 7 conferences. With the changing landscape of college baseball, I mean, do you think we're going to be waiting another 57 odd years before we see something like this, and we'll be getting used to mainly SEC teams and ACC teams in this College World Series?
I hope not. I hope it's something similar. Like, I think this has been a very refreshing field, especially after what happened last year when it was an all SEC, ACC affair. I think it's been fun to have. I mean, you have a little bit of everything. You've had the true Cinderella in Murray State. You've got kind of the sentimental favorite and Coastal Carolina. You've got a couple big brands and kind of everything else in between. I guess the way I kind of look at it is, as college athletics moves into a rev share era where teams are going to scholarship different numbers of players, like, is it going to be more likely that a team like Murray State makes a run? I don't think so. Is it going to be more likely that a team like Coastal gets back? I don't think so. So I hope we don't look back on this field in 5 or 10 years and say, man, that was the last kind of, last moment where parity reigned supreme. It could turn out that way. It very well could have been a heavy SEC field this year. I mean, they had 13 teams in the NCAA tournament, and there were a lot of upsets for this thing to get where it is. So, yeah, I mean, I still think we're trending toward an era of even more haves and have-nots, but this very much feels like kind of a throwback field right now, and I hope people are enjoying it because I don't know how much we're going to see this here going forward.
Well, you are definitely a have and not a have-not, and we appreciate you coming on the show, and we look forward to having you at the Omaha Baseball Village later today. So I'll get a double dose of Evan Bland. Nothing better than that on a summer's day here in Omaha. Thanks so much for joining us, my man.
Can't beat it. Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
See you later. That was Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald talking about some Husker baseball, talking about a little bit of the College World Series, which we will have here on the station today, 1 o'clock. The Cinderella Murray State takes on Dave Van Horn and the Arkansas Razorbacks. And then later tonight, the UCLA Bruins will face off against the LSU Tigers. Don't go anywhere here. You're listening to Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone.
I don't know who sings this song. I think it's Chaperone. I don't know, but I'm like vibing with it. I like this dynamic back again, where like you can't hear the music.
Yeah, I have no idea. So I have to guess. What are you swaying your shoulders to?
It's just like, do you know the Almond Joy commercial that we have on the zone? Like the sometimes you feel like a nut. That one.
Yes.
You know, it kind of gives that vibe. It's like do. You know, I love that Almond Joy song. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Oh,
And that gives you the Pink Pony vibe.
Yeah, no, it's not Pink Pony, but
That's their other song.
I have no clue, but like I'm just like I'm naturally unconsciously swaying my head. It's just one of those like I don't know. It's like you'd hear this song a little bit like in a cabana in the Caribbean. It's like a cabana in the Caribbean type deal. It was very good. What was that? What was that song, Jimmy? Who was singing that?
That was not Chaperone.
Okay.
Oh,
Who sang it?
That was Enya.
Enya what? I've Enya. I don't know who that is. I know Edna Mode. I don't know Enya. Never heard of.
In Vogue?
Edna Mode.
It sounded like he said in the commode.
No. Edna Mode. She's the little cartoon character in The Incredibles. She like makes the capes and the costumes and everything for the superheroes. You are tiny god. That's what she sounds like. No capes.
Enya.
Never heard of her.
Enya,
I hardly know her.
And I don't know, so I can't hear when we're split like this. I can't hear the music, so I have no idea. But wow.
What was the song title? Just so Gary could play it later and know what I'm talking about.
It's called Sail Away, but its actual title is Orinoco Flow.
Yeah, Orinoco Flow. I was flowing, dude. I was flowing with Enya. Never heard of her.
Close to Chaperone.
But she's actually no, it was a little Chaperone. That would be a great pizza. That would be a great pizza for like
Chaperone?
The Chaperone. Sponsored by Chaperone. I'm a genius.
Like Minsky's has the Kelseroni.
We should get Verzal. Be like, hey, you should try and partner up with Chaperone and make the Chaperone.
Sure, that conversation's gonna go well.
Yeah, they're probably Verse is busy right now.
Chaperone goes on her next interview after talking to Verzal, and all of a sudden she's like, the offensive line is super important. I mean, more of these teams have to build through the trenches.
I've listened to quite a few interviews with her. She doesn't strike me as someone that would dabble in offensive line play. Wouldn't get inside the trenches. She probably is like a very fringe sports fan.
She likes a corner or a wideout, if you will. But okay, here's what I have set up for the segment.
Oh God.
Sports Center is coming to Nebraska.
Huskers. Is this the 50 states in 50 days?
This is the 50 states in 50 days, which didn't Travis Kelce do this with like girls he was trying to date?
Probably.
He did a reality show. I don't think he was trying to date 50 women in 50 days.
No, but it was like wasn't that a thing though where he had 50 different women come from 50 different states?
That might have been the case. I did not watch that. I refuse to watch that. I'm just happy as somebody that makes him happy, and I just want my tight end to make me happy this year. Just be a top 5 tight end in the NFL in your last year, and we're good.
Travis Kelce and his family have done a great job of absolutely bearing that and having everybody forget that happened, because that was actually kind of embarrassing. But as soon as I saw the 50 states and 50 days things, I immediately thought of Travis Kelce, which some of these 50 states and 50 days things like are cool. Like they're going to UFC 317 and they're going to be at like the Little League World Series and stuff like that. But some of this stuff that they're going to cover for Sports Center in 50 states and 50 days, or it's kind of like underwhelming. Like they're going to the Dude Perfect World Tour in Kansas. Like that's what Kansas gets. They just get the DP World Tour. Like they're going.
Yeah, but you got to be unique, right? I don't like Kansas this time of the year. What would you go cover? Legion tournament in Salina, Kansas.
Yeah. But you could go to a Royals game. Would it kill
They play in
Sports
Missouri.
Center to go to a Royals game, to go and cover a Major League Baseball game that isn't one of the
San Francisco, LA, New York, Boston, Chicago teams.
Just for a moment here, please apologize to the people from Missouri.
The Royals don't play in Kansas.
Not yet.
That's my bad. That's a misstep there. But you know what I'm saying. I
No,
mean,
I don't.
okay. But they're going. Look at what they're doing.
Yeah, but they always cover a major league game, though. I think there must be like their timing on their calendar or when they're going to roll through Kansas. I wonder because that seems kind of odd to do that event.
Sure.
But that must be like the biggest event that's going on in the state of Kansas.
Well, they don't have. So that's my thing.
What's the one they're doing for Nebraska?
The Nebraska State Games.
Okay.
So they're coming.
They can't go to the big rodeo in Burwell.
No, I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to send David Lloyd to the Burwell.
Why not? That thing is a banger.
I know. I bet it probably is better than the Cornhusker State Games, but that's where they're going. They're going to the day before, though. They'll be at the Home Run Derby.
Oh.
They'll go from the Home Run Derby to the Cornhusker State Games, and then the day after, they're going to the ESPYs. So what a sandwich for the state of Nebraska in between Georgia and California.
Are you saying that we might get overshadowed?
I have an inkling.
I mean, who hasn't been involved in the Cornhusker State Games?
I've covered like the torch running or when they run the torch. That was cool. But I mean, it'll be interesting for them to be there. But you know, at least they're not like Indiana where they'll be at the WNBA All-Star Weekend, or they're going for Mississippi. They're going to the Neshoba County Fair.
Okay.
Is that famous? Is that popular?
I don't know about that one. But is there a sporting event that goes on with it?
I have no clue. They're just Shea Cornette was just going to the Neshoba County Fair to go and cover it.
Well, there could be like some races, like some pig races going on, things like that.
They are going to a race. They're going to a 70-mile Ironman race in Idaho. So they're doing a lot of different things. I just thought it was really funny that Nebraska got squeezed in between like two legitimately big events that a lot of people will be tuning into. And then they're like, Cornhusker State Games, baby. Do we know who the torch runner is yet for that?
Oh, that's a good question because that's
Big
what is
deal.
that? Usually the first part of July, middle of July.
Yeah, it's July 15th.
So are they going to be at Seacrest for the opening ceremonies, or will they just go to an event?
Good question. The Cornhusker State Games.
I would imagine they'd be at Seacrest, right, to set up for the opening ceremonies, which usually have a really good crowd and they put on a good show.
They put on a really good show. No, it's not at the opening day. The Cornhusker State Games will kick off on July 10th. So they're just going 5 days into the Cornhusker State Games and doing God knows what. As opposed to what's on July 10th. On July 10th, they'll be at the Edward Jones MLP midseason tournament in Michigan. What's Major League Polo? What's that? MLP? Major League? I have no idea what that is. But no, they're just going to a random Cornhusker State game.
Huh. I mean, I wish they'd go to the rodeo in Burwell.
That much fun. That'd be way more fun to see that, like that type of people in Sports Center at that type of event. But that's what they're doing. 50 states in 50 days. I'm actually a fan of it. I think that Sports Center doing more things and getting out there and trying to extend their reach is good for ESPN and it's good for sports. And do you know what's good for sports, Gary Sharp?
The College World Series.
There you go. Attaboy. It will be here at 1620 The Zone at 1 o'clock. Murray State takes on Arkansas. And then after that, UCLA plays LSU. But before all of that happens, Josh Peterson and I will be live from the Omaha Baseball Village, and that's where I will be going to right now. So I will be here for the rest of the show, but I will be in the car on the way there. And then I will hopefully see you later today, partner.
Yes. All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6.
It'll be a great time. It'll be a phenomenal time as always. And have a couple good calls.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Very
You
well.
have fun with Josh. You guys sound great.
where we'll be talking about more Northwestern football, like everybody is clamoring for at the Omaha Baseball Village.
You know, we got a tweet Saturday night. So, people want us to talk LSU Arkansas, or they wanted you guys to talk LSU Arkansas. Some guy referred to you as twits. Why are the twits on the radio talking about Northwestern football?
Nice. That's a good one. I'm a fan of that. I've never been called a twit before. Mick Twit might be a good nickname for me.
And I was like, I wanted to respond. You don't get the show this time of the year. We talk football.
We talk football.
You have two guys that love talking football, are talking football on the radio nonstop, and they are in their wheelhouse.
We are talking about Bill Belichick today, and we're not talking about Jordan Hudson with Bill Belichick. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a great segment.
You guys are breaking down North Carolina, right?
We are. We're going to break down North Carolina.
I got an interesting schedule at the beginning of the year.
It's going to be an actually interesting breakdown. It'll be fun to do. But I am heading out. I'm probably going to be late. So I will see you soon, partner.
All
right. Bye-bye.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll put a wrap on the show. Evan saved a story. Nebraska baseball just picked up a significant portal commitment that happened right after he got off the air with us. So we'll tell you about that as we wrap the show. And we will send you to Omaha Baseball Village, which has been absolutely packed. There are some great vendors there this year. And we'll send you there at 10 for Josh and Matt. And then coming up at 1 o'clock today, an elimination game, Arkansas and Murray State. That's right. Arkansas and Murray State is an elimination game. John, myself, and Connor will all be on the call. And then tonight, LSU and UCLA. We're back with more Gary and Matt with Jimmy after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, our July 4th has been saved. Welcome back in, Gary and Matt here for the last couple of minutes. Matt is navigating the roads down to the College World Series. We're going to check in with him in just a moment. But huge news. This is July 4th has been saved by one man who is a world record holder. Joey Chestnut is coming back. He just announced on Twitter. I'm thrilled to be returning to the Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest. This event means the world to me. It's a cherished tradition, a celebration of American culture, and a huge part of my life. While I have and continue to partner with a variety of companies, including some in the planet-based space, those relationships were never a conflict with my love for hot dogs. To be clear, Nathan's is the only hot dog company I've ever worked with. I respect that there were differences in interpretation, but I'm grateful we've been able to find common ground. I'm excited to be back on the Coney Island stage, doing what I live to do, and celebrating the 4th of July with hot dogs in my hands. Stay hungry. July 4th has been saved by one man, and the only man that could save the 4th of July, Joey Chestnut.
Wow. Am I live?
You are live, yes. Both hands on the wheel. Are you performing safe sell?
You're on AM radio.
I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to cut it pretty close here. This is I just got on to Douglas. I have 2 green lights. I got to make them here. I got 18 minutes to park the car and then run to OBV.
Are you seeing rotation in the clouds?
Okay. No, I'm not. Okay, I can't speed though because I got a cop behind me, and I do not want to get pulled over here.
Now this could be great content.
And I would never speed it anyway. All right, we're at California. This guy, do not turn left here. Do not do that. And I'm good. Hey, I'm very happy to hear Joey Chestnut is going to be back on the 4th of July so I can see a man stuff his face with hot dogs for 10 minutes. That'll be great.
Well, that's it. That is the 4th. It's America. You are not this is the first time we've talked about Joey Chestnut. You're not a fan?
I mean, it's not that I'm not a fan, but I just like,
This is the biggest story of today. It is not Ohtani pitching. It is not Game 5 of the NBA Finals. What is happening today? This is the greatest announcement that will find its way onto X today, is that Joey Chestnut has decided to put down all of his bad vibes and say, I'm coming back because America needs Joey Chestnut. Right now, we got a lot of stuff going on in the world. America needs Joey Chestnut. And Joey Chestnut is going to save America and the 4th of July.
You're telling me that a grown man stuffing meat with water and bread down his gullet for 10 minutes is going to move the needle for you?
That's very American.
We need something we all agree on, and that is that he is the greatest professional, competitive eater in the history of eating, and we've eaten a lot in this world. We need Joey Chestnut, and Joey Chestnut has delivered.
I don't know if I'm going to deliver. We are here. Oh, no. Come on, move. It is, I'm on 22nd and coming. Right
okay.
Now.
You're making good. Give it a little honk to the new Creighton softball field.
I'm literally passing it right now, but we're getting congested here, unfortunately.
Is it allergies?
No, I'm kind of getting backed up. We're still moving. Now I'm past Florence. But now I'm braking, and there's a green light, and I am now braking. Can we move, please? There's not a lot of, stop braking. Oh, what is going on? Okay, so there's a car in the middle of the road with their lights on, and it's kind of, I don't know what they're doing.
Maybe they're broke down. I mean, that would be my first guess. I could be crazy that they would be in the middle of the road with their blinkers on.
Going out on a limb here.
I know. I'm on 16th now. I'm actually making good time.
Hey, great
Shout
time,
out
actually.
to this.
Jesus.
Oh, to this Mazda
Hell,
here.
It's just running all the lights.
Hey,
running over.
you are running all the red lights, aren't you?
I am not running all the
It
red
has
lights.
gone to his
I'm
head.
completely-
He owns the town.
No, I'm completely stopped now at 15th Street.
Are you by the famous burger theory that somehow stays open, but I never ever see anybody in there outside of the College World Series?
There is literally nobody in there right now. And now this guy's trying to put right in front of me, and he's taking forever to do so. Attaboy. All right, keep moving. There's this truck that isn't stopped, but it's going like 10 miles an hour. It's not like a sweeper or anything. And they don't like, oh my God, I'm going to do it. I blew a red light. I made it. I went on a stale yellow. I probably shouldn't have done that there, but now I've just hit my first light. I'm on 13th and coming. I made good time. I'm a good driver, dude. Dang it, man.
You have made exceptional time.
You have.
Going in the back door is a great way to go.
It took me 7 minutes
So I've heard.
to get from the station to, I flew down Dodge. I don't know what happened today, but I hit every light on the way to Dodge. And now I'm right in front of Charles Schwab Field. I'm right in front of the famous statue.
Why,
LSU fan?
asking for our traffic people, why are you driving down Dodge? Why don't you drive through Dundee?
I don't know how to navigate this city.
We can
know
attest to
how
this.
to drive home. So I just drive to my house, and then I drive to my house to the stadium.
Okay.
So I go down Dodge, and then I take a left on Douglas, and then I take Douglas to Cumming, and then Cumming down here. It works.
If you go the
One of the
back
streets
way
closed.
through
I'll help
Dundee
you.
down to Cumming, it's a straight shot.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
I thought we told you that. I thought we told you that last week to go that route.
No, I wasn't told at all. I just go Dodge to Douglas to Cumming, and now people are stopped here on the 10th Street light. Stop! Whoa, Tacoma, what are you doing? I almost hit this car. Can we? God dang it! Why are?
Once again, content.
Dang it!
Did you hit somebody?
I made a move. No, these stupid pedestrians are blocking traffic.
Were they cute though? Could you make friends?
The pedestrians that have the right of way?
Yes, those ones.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm now on Mecca Lot D. I am now pulling in. I just had to pull a maneuver. I had to get in the left lane, go around the people. Now I'm back in the right lane, and now this Super Duty Ford is taking forever to get to the lot. Come on. Why are you stopping? Oh, my God. No.
You're just joining us, John McEnroe, with us here on the line.
Oh, my God. Like this truck with the lights on. All right. Am I good to go? Good. Thank you. All right. I am in the parking lot. No, I'm telling you, there's this truck with this light who's just moving around everywhere, and he's not going fast enough, and then he just stopped right in front of me at Media Lot D.
And how did that make you feel?
Because he maybe had to pay to get in?
I don't know what he was doing. He had a neon green vest on, but I don't think he was really contributing anything other than slowing down my ability to get to the lot.
So hold on here. The green vest, they actually are working and taking your money or checking your pass.
No. There was a guy in the car. I don't know what he was trying to accomplish. He was in the car. He was, as soon as I got to like 20th and Cumming, he was slowing down traffic. I don't know why he was driving so slow or what he was trying to do. I hope that whatever service he was providing, I'm very thankful for it. But he was a slow driver. All right.
Is there a way that we could set this up tomorrow where we actually have video where we can watch you drive?
Oh, that'd be. Yeah,
we could make this happen.
Can. I can hook up my phone. Oh, I just hung on accident. Oops. Okay. Do I have everything? Yes, I do. This is what I do every day, by the way, when I get out of the car.
Do you have your computer?
I don't. Yeah, I do.
Do you have a phone
charger? Did I leave it at the stadium? Did I leave it there? I should have it. I think I have everything I need.
Do you have your lunch?
No. That typically gets provided to me. I'm now out of the car. I think I have everything. Okay, we're good. Now we're moving here.
Forget your sunscreen.
Now, are you smart enough to park in an area where you can get out quickly when your day is done?
No, I have actually pigeonholed myself, if I'm being honest. I have parked as close to the front as possible.
See, that does you no good.
Well, you know what? I don't want to be in trouble and show up late to the broadcast. So I'm now running. I just passed Chugger's Point.
Good thing you're young.
God, I'm hungry. I might throw up. Oof.
By the
Tyler
way,
Childers
just
is coming.
you just have passed the lady we talked about the other day from Texas, the couple that are Texas fans. They're giving out free souvenir
Oh, yeah,
cups.
Oh, okay. Dang it! I should have grabbed one. This light is taking.
Keep it moving. Are we crossing the street yet?
No dilly dallying.
No,
Are we
we're
into the NCAA fan experience?
No, we are not. We are outside of it.
Okay, have you
I have
crossed
right
the street?
I'm crossing now.
Look both
I'm
ways.
now
Make
crossing.
sure you have your buddy.
Pete McRae's coming in October. I can't wait for that. It'll be fun.
Rodney
Be a good
McRae used to
experience.
come in May all the time. Great player.
All right. I'm through. I'm up to the batting cages.
All right. Put down the phone, hang up the phone, get to the set.
Okay.
Say hello
Make
to
sure you
Josh and
say hello.
Josh.
Yes. Say good morning to them.
Ask Josh if he's ever going to follow me on X, and I'll follow him back.
You will never do that.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I'll do it immediately.
Excuse me.
Now be good. Have fun at work.
Oh, wait a minute. Who are we saying excuse me to?
All right. Some staff people. I'm being nice. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm running. I'm getting a cramp. All right.
All right, we're going to need from here on out for the next couple of days. We're going to need we need video to go along with this audio because this has a chance to be golden. This has a chance to be a fantastic segment.
I'm by Zesco's.
All right. All right. Look forward to hearing you. Have a good you and Josh have a great show, and we'll see you later.
Have a good day at camp.
All right.
We love
All right,
you.
I'll see you. Bye. All right. Bye. Love you too.
This is what we will do every day from here on out. When Matt leaves the show and has to go to Baseball Village, we will travel with Matt.
Yeah, this is nice. Baby discovers the city.
It makes us remember when we were learning things, right, Jimmy?
Oh man, first day getting my driver's license, rush hour on a Texas freeway at 5:30. A lot of angry people, a lot of middle fingers, a lot of honking at me.
I am telling you, he made really, really good time because he left the studio. He left the studio at 9:35, and we're at 50th and Capitol.
And he was disheveled coming out of here. That's why I asked him about his computer. I didn't know. He didn't know if he was coming or going. But you know what? By golly, he got in the car and he made us proud. He just ran all the lights. He had a police escort. He's going to have a great day at work. All
right. Day 4 of the College World Series is about to kick off. Josh and Matt will be down at Omaha Baseball Village. Please stop by and say hello. It's a great setup this year. There are so many vendors. There are so many people that happen to stay outside of the stadium than go in the stadium. But there will be definitely a one-sided fan base today. There will be a lot of Arkansas fans that are still in town that will go to the elimination game. And then if you're not an Arkansas fan, you'll be rooting for Murray State. That comes up at 1. Don says the whole damn drive sounds like a trip to the store with my wife driving. We will have video tomorrow. We will set it up where he has a camera that we will be able to watch all of this unfold along with the audio.
We can travel with him, live through him.
Yes. Okay, quick thing here. By the way, thanks to Jay Johnson, head baseball coach at LSU, John Savage, head coach at UCLA. Most coaches on day of games, they didn't do any radio interviews. They were nice enough to join us in the 8 o'clock hour. They're up on the radio replay page. Evan Bland was just on with us, and we were talking about Nebraska baseball in the portal. They have added an infielder, Nico Nuhan, whose dad played in the majors for 8 years. He is a junior college product from San Diego. He hit 380, 19 homers, 15 doubles this past year in 43 games. He comes from Grossmont College. He is a infielder. Let's see here. I think he is a second baseman. If I'm scrolling through Evan's story, he might be able to play any position in the infield. So right-handed hitter, 3 years of eligibility left. He was redshirted at Arizona in 24, and then was a junior college All-American this past spring, 491 on base percentage, also 30 to 40 walk to strikeout ratio. So he is the latest addition to Nebraska baseball, but was highly thought of coming out of college. Was a top 140. Well, he's played shortstop. So Nebraska has added Jet Buck, who is a power hitting Division II from Washburn infielder. They've added Cooper Katsky from Miami of Ohio, who's a pitcher, and then Kevin Mantle from Mississippi State. And now they've added junior college infielder Nico Newhan. He will be joining Nebraska for the upcoming year. All right, that is it for this show. We'll be back again tomorrow at 6. Day 4 of the College World Series kicks off after the break from Omaha Baseball Village. Big thanks to Jimmy. Big thanks to all of you. Busy sports day. 2 College World Series games. One's an elimination game. We got the NBA Game 5. Ohtani pitches tonight. And whoever else happens, we'll talk about it tomorrow when we rejoin you at